affirming and promoting family rule. He's the third ruler from this family in direct succession. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, came to power in 1945. By introducing the fourth generation, he's saying, the family is offering continuity. And this daughter, who there's never been a female ruler, but his sister, Kim Yo-jong, is also very important now. So it may be that he's introducing the idea of a new thing, a female succession.
Very little is known about Kim's daughter, but the basketball star Dennis Rodman said back in 2013 that he had met her during one of several visits he made to Pyongyang, even holding her as a baby. South Korean intelligence says Kim has 2 other children with his wife, but all of their details are a closely guarded North Korean secret. The main news again, at least 162 people are now known to have died in an earthquake on the Indonesian island of Java. Several people attending a gay nightclub in the US state of Colorado have been hailed as heroes for subduing a gunman and preventing a deadly shooting over the weekend from being even worse. And European soccer associations have criticised a last-minute FIFA ruling warning players will be sanctioned if they wear rainbow armbands during World Cup matches in Qatar. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
In a dramatic scene last night, a coalition of the nation's damaged women staged a drunken, tear-soaked march on the Capitol just after 2 a.m. Jane Carmichael has more.
Thank you, Brooke. The damaged women began their protest yesterday afternoon, marching on the National Mall at about 4 p.m., and then marching away furious, saying they were done with Congress once and for all. But then they came back again late last night, insisting that someone in Washington listen to them for once. The late-night protests started with tearful apologies, but quickly moved to anger as marchers demanded that Congress pass a bill making it illegal to say you love someone and then up and leave as soon as there's one little problem.
Why are you ignoring us? Stop ignoring us! Why don't you hear me when I talk to you? Wipe the smirk off of your face. No, come back! Come back because we think that we want you to care about us!
I don't need to pay a therapist to tell me I'm unhappy! I know I'm unhappy!
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program here. As always, you're invited. If you want to join the show, you can. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us online, of course, anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com, where you can enjoy the various features that we have there for you and take advantage of those and share them and do whatever you want with that. So check it out at freetalklive.com. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Aria.
Turns out that just having a website that the feds don't like is enough to get you raided these days, at least according to a story published by Fox News over the weekend.
Well, it's been like that. Ross Ulbricht.
Sure.
I was going to mention Ross Ulbricht as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, at least in the Ross Ulbricht case, I mean, I'm not trying to give them any credit or anything like that. It was horrifying what they did to Ross Ulbricht. At least they could claim there were illegal things happening on the website that he created, which was the Silk Road.
Well, I mean, there was commerce happening. I'm not sure that there was anything illegal happening on the site. It may or may not have facilitated the happenings of illegal things.
What I mean is people were buying and selling. They were buying and selling drugs on the Silk Road. It's a fact.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not convinced that anything more than connecting people happened on the website. But again, I'm not an attorney, so I mean,
and I don't think Ross Ulbricht should have spent an hour in jail, let alone 10 years of his life. Which is what
he was a hero. He saved people's lives.
Right. Yeah. He reduced the violence in the black market. He increased the quality of the product and allowed for competition.
It didn't do any of that, he just created a website and other people used it to do things. It's like if people were using Neopets to meet up and sell drugs, that the owners of Neopets get sent to life plus 40 years in prison.
But now the feds have raided the owner of a prominent Area 51 website.
That's unusual.
You've heard of Area 51.
Yeah, New Mexico.
The alleged, the not-so-secret government facility where they test a lot of aircraft and things like that, and we're in an area where there just so happens to be an unusually high number of UFO sightings.
It's not the same as Roswell, right? Because Roswell's where something fell from the sky.
No, I think Roswell's isn't Roswell near?
I think.
Or wait, isn't Area 51 Nevada?
It might be.
And then Roswell's New Mexico. I think that's what I was mixing up.
I get them mixed up too. But anyway,
I mean, they're not. It's all the desert. So
right. According to Fox News, the owner of this Area 51 website known as DreamlandResort.com is speaking out after he says federal government agents raided his home at gunpoint. He says homes, apparently, at gunpoint, and broke down the doors while investigating a crime he still doesn't know the details of.
Wow.
Jorg Arnu, proprietor of the website DreamlandResort.com, says, I discussed the case with an attorney specialized in federal cases. What I learned is truly incredible and, in my opinion, a much bigger story than the raid of my homes. What was done to me and my girlfriend, two unarmed, innocent, cooperating senior citizens, is apparently totally within the law. Truly incredible, he said.
It's certainly within the law. That doesn't make it right, obviously. That doesn't make it moral, but I'm surprised they held them at gunpoint. I mean, when I was raided, they did briefly hold me at gunpoint, but it was brief. It's not like they Gestapo'd me and just stood there while talking to me with guns pointed at me. Not for an extended period of time.
Well, presumably they handcuffed you shortly after.
They did.
Yeah.
So they did not handcuff this guy? They just kept pointing guns at him?
I don't know. Let's find out here. So it was reported earlier this week that Mr. Arnu claimed 15 to 20 armed federal so-called authorities from the U.S. Air Force and the FBI raided two Nevada homes belonging to him and his girlfriend, including a home in which he was present and where he says agents busted through his door and yanked the pair outside, where they were, quote, detained and treated in the most disrespectful way, unquote. He said Saturday he still doesn't know what specific crime he violated and only knows what an agent told him during the raid, that the incident was, quote, related to images posted on his Area 51 website, unquote.
So, presumably he posted, classified material?
I'm not going to presume anything. I have no idea. They apparently didn't bother
according
to tell
to their
him.
allegations. Let me rephrase that.
Apparently they didn't tell him.
It could have been somebody else posting it too. The article didn't say that he posted them. It could have been someone else posted it to his website if it's like a forum.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've not spent much time. I just went to the site just to see what it looked like.
The government's very peculiar about pictures of their facilities. When I went to Incarceration, this festival in Ohio, which takes place at a former state prison.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, there's an actual federal prison still on the property, right? It amazes me that they actually allow a rock festival to take place there, but they do.
Where did it happen? Like in the yard?
No. Well, in the yard of the state
prison that was closed.
Yes. It did.
Wow.
And it's within sight, sort of the actual federal prison that's still operating. But anyway.
And presumably you have to walk through the jail to get to the yard, right? Like there's not direct access from the outside? No?
Well, there is now, but there probably wasn't back
in
then.
the day. I see.
But anyway, this is where they shot Shawshank Redemption. So there's a lot of tours and stuff like that. So we went through these tours and they have, little sheets of paper over all the windows. Do not take pictures of this window or outside this window. So obviously I did until they started yelling at me. Well, I mean, you can't put a sign there saying don't take pictures out of this window without telling me why. It turned out to be because they were overlooking the federal prison facility.
Oh, and the feds get all uppity about
They're
that.
afraid that you'll be able to send the layout of the building to someone and help them escape.
But as far as I'm aware, there's no actual law against it or anything. It's like, dude, you are having a festival here. You kind of going to have to get over people taking pictures of your stupid little federal prison.
So did they have state agents ordering you around, or who was
no,
telling
this was
you
an employee of, I don't know. I suppose the people who were doing the tour and overseeing it were state employees because it's still a state facility.
Yeah.
But they weren't like police officers or security guards or anything like that. It was just
tour guides.
Your essential tour guide saying, "Hey, you stop taking pictures out the window." Okay, my bad.
Did they force you to delete it?
No.
Okay.
No,
Then it wasn't that serious.
They could have asked me to leave, but they would never have gotten on my phone. I suppose they could have confiscated it as well, but
Crazy.
I've been like, well, it automatically backs up everything to Google Photos, so it's already out, so give me my phone back.
So the man claims that between the damages to his home, including the broken down door, and there's images here showing the door's been pretty mangled, and the value of the hard drives, cameras, and other equipment amounts to a dollar value of around $25,000. Now, the statement here isn't clear. I'm presuming they took hard drives, cameras, and other equipment rather than just coming in and smashing them, right? Like, it's not clear. We know they smashed his door in, but he doesn't say for sure.
They probably smashed his cameras as well, or at least damaged them and broke them.
They take
They might want it to look at it.
They didn't take my cameras. They broke them.
Wow.
They took the DVR, but they didn't confiscate the cameras. What use would the cameras have been?
No, I don't think he's talking about surveillance cameras. You're talking about surveillance cameras. I think he's talking about actual, like, photography cameras.
Okay.
Yeah. He says, I haven't been charged with a crime, and all my attempts to reach out to the FBI to get my much-needed medical and financial records and passwords stored on the computers were in vain. Crickets from the feds. Yeah, that's pretty much to be expected. In photos
Wait, wasn't it the feds that did this? The Air Force and who else?
FBI.
Yeah.
The photos provided to Fox News Digital shows...
Hold on, you said the Air Force took part
Air
in the
Force
raid against
and
this guy?
FBI.
The U.S.
joint raid.
military.
Yeah, and that's really shocking.
Well, they run the Area 51, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah,
well,
but
maybe.
They don't have the legal authority. I would have presumed the U.S. military doesn't have the legal authority to execute a raid
Apparently
on
they
a
do.
citizen's
Well, you know,
home.
like, I don't know if the cops in Keene necessarily had the authority to do that to our homes, but they assisted.
Well, they at least had a warrant, right? But, I mean, the police isn't actually... They're at least a police force. The U.S. Air Force isn't. They're a
Well, they have
military
cops, too.
force. There are supposed to be laws
They have
against...
military cops.
Yes,
they
but
have
they're
Air
supposed to
Force cops
police.
and
They're supposed to police the military, not civilians. There are supposed to be laws and constitutional protections preventing the U.S. military from acting as a police force. That's literally what a police state is, and there's supposed to be laws protecting us from that.
We'll talk more about it coming up here, and you can share your thoughts. Again, this man doesn't even know what this is really about, but they took all his stuff. They busted in his doors on more than one of his homes, all because he apparently runs an Area 51 website. Who's next on the list of the feds and who they're going to raid? More coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Aria.
And don't forget, you can join us online. Head over to freetalklive.com. We have our own social media site at social.freetalklive.com. And I know that people are celebrating Elon Musk taking over at Twitter and unbanning certain people. He did unban the Babylon Bee, for instance. Which
isn't even as funny as the other one.
Actually, Babylon Bees, I think, kind of become better in many ways than the Onion.
I like the Bee better than the Onion these days.
Yeah, the Onion used to be funny. If you go back to older Onion stuff, it's fantastic.
Didn't they go woke, though?
Yeah, in the last several years I think it was after Univision purchased the company.
Woke isn't funny, but neither is like ultra-right. And it's not like all of Babylon Bee is ultra-right, but I read one of their articles the other day, I think it was about them getting reinstated. I was like, oh, this is not funny at all. It's all political and stupid.
Well, they are Christian.
Yeah, Christian.
And, I think they have writers that appear to be right-wing and possibly some libertarian writers. But I'm not really clear on their political makeup, whereas The Onion seems to be pretty lefty these days.
To be fair, I'm probably just judging The Onion based on the things I hear on the radio.
Those are almost a decade old.
Yeah,
at this point.
And I certainly don't want to portray the mentality that I think, go woke, go broke, as so many people do and things like that. There's obviously a market for people who are woke and all of that, but there is a lot less humor.
Yeah, that's true.
In the woke community than there is outside of it.
I don't know why it's true, but for some reason, like leftist/woke people are just not funny.
They can't take a joke, and jokes.
No, they can't.
Jokes generally have a victim, and people like that don't like that fact. Anyway, so there's a lot of attention being given to Elon Musk over this. He just let Donald Trump back on the platform.
I saw that. Did Donald Trump actually rejoin?
No, he has not. No, there's been a tremendous amount, at least not of the last time I looked, which was sometime yesterday, I think. There's been a tremendous amount of attention, of course, given to this. Okay, Trump's back, even though he's not back. They keep talking, like the people on the right are celebrating.
His account was reinstated, but
that's the right way to put it.
He's not back tweeting.
Correct. Now,
I suspect he will be. I mean, that's a huge market for Donald Trump, and he's a narcissist. I don't think he'll be able to resist.
Last time I checked was also yesterday. He had like 86 million followers already, and it starts you from 0. So
well, no. What happened was when he came back, when they put him back on, he started with like 2-something million.
Oh.
And then they must have dug up an old backup or something like that because it went down. I saw it as low as 200,000, and then it started climbing again. And by the next day, he's now got 87.5 million. So there was something going on in the back end. The engineers were fixing his account, essentially.
I'm surprised by this entirely. I would have thought that, deactivating his account or whatever they did would not have removed his followers.
No, I was wrong. But some weird thing happened, like Ian said.
It wasn't explained. It could have been that when Twitter deactivated his account in 2001, maybe some Twitter engineers went in.
2020?
Oh, sorry. Did I say 2001? 2021. Maybe some Twitter engineers went in there and blew away, 90% of his followers or something like that. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it was 2021 because it was January 6th, right?
Right.
They were petty leftists.
Yeah, so I don't know. It doesn't matter to me, but he's back, or at least his account is back. And Trump has specifically said that he is not going to come back. He made another statement about that over the weekend when it was announced. The news, of course, is covering the fact that Twitter has unrestricted his account. Trump once again said he wasn't going to come back. He says he's happy on his website.
It's kind of dumb, though. It's like, what's the point of not coming back? Like, who are you owning at this point? Like, the people who...
Himself.
Yeah, the people who took you off are gone. And
no, when I say he's owning himself, I mean that in a good way. Not being beholden to the Twitter overlords and to Elon Musk. I'm shocked by this. I commend Donald Trump for saying, I'm not going to use your social media platform where I can be banned and restricted and censored. I'm going to stay on mine.
Well, the question is,
if that's what it's about,
how long before he breaks his promise on this one and gives in to the 87.5 million followers that are awaiting him back on Twitter.
Donald Trump, you can throw me your Twitter account, dude. I would be happy to have that level of reach.
Well, what he should have done before he got banned from Twitter was, of course, start his own site before the ban happened, and then use his huge reach on Twitter to promote his own site, which is what he should do now that he's been reinstated.
But doesn't his new site suck? Like, does he have 86 million followers on there?
No, he only has 4 to 5 million there, which is significant.
Huge for a Mastodon server.
Yeah, it's very, very big. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know if it sucks, Bonnie.
I'm jealous.
I've not tried it. I'm not technically allowed to join social media without federal approval.
That's just what I've heard. I haven't tried it either.
I mean, I presume it's not that much different from social.freetalklive.com unless they've done significant code changes to the site. It's just another Mastodon site that they've put they've named it Truth Social.
Well, we know they did make pretty substantial changes to the Truth Social.
Well, we know they stripped away the federation aspect, so you cannot follow Donald Trump's Truth Social account from outside of Truth Social, which is a stupid move on their part because I would follow his account just because he's entertaining, not because I agree with him, but because he's entertaining, but I can't. Whereas normally the benefit of Mastodon is you're federated. You are connected to other federated servers and you can follow people on different servers, but nope, they turned that off. So yes, they definitely did make some changes, but I cannot tell you whether or not it's any good of a site. You could go check it out, Bonnie, and give us a review.
I'm just not really interested. Like, I'm not interested in Gab or
yeah.
any other right-wing dominant sites.
I'm on most of them. Gab in particular, I signed up for. Parler, I think I'm on. I don't remember whether or not that was pre-raid, because of course I'm in the same boat as you now where I need permission to use various social media servers, so I didn't ask for Gab or Parler, but I had accounts on these places. I think I had an account on Parler. I enjoy them, and I could see the appeal of them, especially with Donald Trump's, which has millions upon millions of users, clearly. Gab and Parler probably don't have that many.
It wouldn't surprise me if Gab did. It's a fairly popular site.
It is, but they're alt-right and Nazis, and they're too far right to interact with me. I'm there because it was a funny way of trolling Nazis.
Gab is definitely a site where they've made significant changes to the Mastodon guts, and it looks like a pretty unique looking site. So I
did not realize Gab was also a Mastodon instance.
Yeah, Gab wasn't in the beginning, but they switched to Mastodon, and that was the first time that like a right-leaning site had gone to Mastodon, and it made a big stir within the Mastodon community because a lot of the programmers behind Mastodon are lefties. And so they got upset that somebody on the right was actually using their program
Isn't it like open source?
It is.
Why even make it open source if you want to control who uses it?
Well, ultimately, they can't control who uses it, but they got mad about it. That's all.
And isn't that the point? Is to like have social media platforms where people who don't agree with you can express themselves freely, and if you want to, you can just disfederate from them?
That is the point, and I believe many places did that. I don't even know if Gab is federated at all. These are questions I don't have the answer to, but if you want to weigh in, you can join the show at 603-283-6160. I got a little bit more about this raid that happened against the guy running an Area 51 website. He had his homes raided by the FBI and apparently the Air Force simultaneously, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I actually pulled up his own blog post about it from his website, which is dreamlandresort.com. It's one of those websites that looks like it hasn't had an update technically since like 2001.
Well, they did say he was old.
It's true. All right, there's more coming up here. 603-283-6160. You can join us. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you ever say, I could care less, when you really mean the opposite? You mean to say, I couldn't care less. It's a common mistake. You are judged by how you speak, especially if you're looking for work, with so many more applicants than openings now. But even if you're not, avoiding common misstatements will help you make the most of the dozens of conversations and transactions that crowd your daily routine. So whatever you say, don't say whatever as a single word sentence. It's the most annoying expression in the American English language, according to a recent poll. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. But seriously, at the end of the day, you'll want to avoid this scenario, sounding like everyone else. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. At least 162 people are now known to have died in an earthquake in Indonesia. The epicenter was on the island of Java, with hundreds of people already reported as injured. The quake struck at lunchtime on Monday local time and registered a magnitude of 5.6. A massive emergency response is now going through the night in a bid to find additional survivors. In other news, several people attending a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Colorado have been hailed as heroes after subduing a gunman and preventing a deadly weekend shooting from being even worse. Investigators in Colorado Springs are searching for the motive behind the attack, which left at least 5 people dead and 25 people injured. FSN's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher with more.
People inside Club Q in Colorado Springs described a scene of chaos as the gunman opened fire immediately after entering. The city's mayor said a patron had grabbed a handgun from the shooter before hitting him with it. Others then pinned him down until the police arrived. The mayor described the intervention as an incredible act of heroism. An investigation's now underway to determine whether the shooting was a hate crime and if more than one person was involved. The suspect, named by police as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich, is in police custody. Kate Fisher, Washington.
In a surprise overnight move, Disney has replaced its current CEO with his predecessor. Bob Iger is returning once again to helm the media empire in a bid to boost its financial prospects. He previously served as CEO for 15 years. There's lots going on at the World Cup in Qatar. Iran's players refused to sing the country's national anthem at the opening of their match today with England, a sign of the players' support for demonstrations roiling Iran following the death in custody of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. England won that game 6-2. Meanwhile, the soccer associations of several European nations are hitting back at FIFA after it threatened to take sanctions against any players wearing One Love rainbow armbands on the pitches of Qatar. Sports correspondent Joe Rawson with news of that latest last-minute decision by the sports governing body.
FIFA saying that if the captains had have worn the rainbow One Love armbands, then the players wearing the armbands would have been shown a yellow card. So the countries who planned to do it, they didn't want to have Harry Kane, for instance, Gareth Bale, shown a yellow card before the game had even started.
A spokesman for UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak described the FIFA decision as putting players in a very difficult position, saying Qatar's policies on gay rights are not those of the UK and not ones we would endorse. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show and bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Some people are betting Donald Trump is just playing this to get the most exposure possible. And I think this is an interesting theory. And I don't know who I need to give credit to, but somebody on the internet said this recently. They said, if Donald Trump is smart, and he seems to be pretty good at this stuff, that what he will do is he'll let the media run with the story that Twitter has unlocked his account. So that story's run now, right? Like that was over the weekend. Twitter, there was a big vote. Elon Musk put it up to a vote, and there were over, I think, 15 million Twitter accounts that voted.
And it was like 51-49.
It was pretty close, yeah, 51 and change to 48, almost 49. And so Elon Musk went ahead and unbanned his account. And my theory is he would have done it anyway, just because. Why wouldn't he?
I tend to think so. I mean, there was never any real good reason for Donald Trump to be banned in the first place, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, Elon Musk isn't concerned with what the majority of people in a Twitter vote think.
Because we would have Alex Jones back.
That's another good point. So that is worth mentioning, Bonnie, that Elon Musk refused to reinstate Alex Jones's account after making a big deal about how he's in favor of free speech. And then he used the excuse that, well, Jones was mean to children. And so therefore, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. Jones was mean to the children at the Sandy Hook, and so therefore he doesn't belong back because Elon Musk's child died in his arms. I guess his first kid died or something. And so Elon says, no people who use children for political gain or whatever. But yet he's still allowing Joe Biden and Donald Trump and all these other people, these other politicians that not only use children for political gain, but also bomb them to death in, like the Middle East and such. And Kim.com actually made this point to Elon Musk, and Musk appears to follow Kim.com because he responds to his tweets. But I don't think that he's been persuaded on this. But the point was made, like, hey, dude, if you're not going to let Alex Jones back on the platform, at least be consistent and take all the politicians off the platform. Because
he mentioned that Biden killed a family, including 7 children, in the bomb strike in Afghanistan.
I suspect that's a fraction of what Biden has.
Yeah, just a point you can clearly point to. Okay, well he killed 7 children, at least in this one instance. At least 7 children.
Yeah.
That would be glorious if Elon Musk just banned everyone who was a government official.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be better than him bringing Alex Jones back.
Yeah, I would be totally fine with that. Would be at least consistent. But the dude's just, it's his platform, and he's ruling over it however he wants to,
But that would make Twitter my #1 social media platform for the rest of my life. If you want my attention, Elon Musk, not that you care, ban all politicians.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So,
but then how could he go to politicians for extra money or whatever he does with his business?
So then the rest of the theory with Trump is so Trump's going to play this out to where he gets media when the media talks about his account coming back. Then he gets more media when the media talks about how Trump is saying he's not going to come back. Right, because that's happened too. He's already said he's not coming back. He said it again this weekend. He's got some media about that. And then finally, he will come back, and he'll get more media for when he actually does come back. So
it would make sense because that's how YouTubers and your favorite artists and stuff, whenever they have a new album coming out that they're going to announce, first they announce the announcement.
Yes.
Then they actually do the announcement on the day that they announced.
You try to get as much attention for it as you can.
I don't know if that will work in Donald Trump's case in this particular scenario, though, because a lot of the media will just eviscerate him for saying,
for breaking his promise.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Trump said he would never return to Twitter.
But what does he care?
Yeah, it's just all
true.
All publicity is good publicity.
If he really was smart, he would play this to where he uses Twitter as a platform to promote Truth Social. And so,
but he won't do that.
I'll give you an example. No, he won't. But I'll give you an example. If you go to my Twitter account, which is at FTL_Ian, you'll see every post of mine on Twitter starts with the full post on Mastodon, and then a small short link.
Also, the ability to interact with you is available on Mastodon. Like, people can respond to your tweets and all of that stuff, and that's probably great.
I mean, I'll respond on Twitter too, but
you might see
I'm
some
not
of them.
exclusive. I'm not
Okay.
exclusive to Mastodon. There is still a large audience on Twitter and all that. But Trump can do the same thing, where he posts to Truth Social, doesn't even go on Twitter, and has it set up to where it automatically posts over on Twitter, and it has a link to his Mastodon account.
That would be really smart. He should just, if he wants to stay on Mastodon, that's just what he should do.
That's what he should totally do.
And then he can ignore.
It would funnel millions more people over to his Mastodon.
He can even have like comments are turned off. So he
Can you
doesn't
do
have
that with Twitter?
Well, you can do it to where like only people that he tags or whatever. I've
Right,
seen
you can
people do that.
restrict the comments heavily. So the number here, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. That all as an aside to just simply tell you about our Mastodon, which is social.freetalklive.com.
Ours is awesome.
Anyone can do this. You can go there, and you can create your own Mastodon too if you want to, but you do have to know how to run a server, and it's kind of tricky. So if you just believe in freedom of speech and you want to have more freedom to express yourself, head over to social.freetalklive.com. So we're back to the story here. We started the show with the Area 51 website operator. The site is dreamlandresort.com. And this gentleman,
Such a weird name. Is it only about the Area 51 or like about lots of things?
I haven't dug deep into it, Bonnie. That's a good question. But it's been around since at least 1999 because it's got a web counter on it that's been operating since 1999 in October.
And when you say web counter, you mean like every time someone goes there, it increments?
It increments.
That is so old. That is so old.
I had
school.
one of those on my site in 1996.
Do they also have
whatever.
a guest book? Because that's the only thing I can think of that's as oh my
yes,
God,
they do.
Wait,
wow,
so it has
that
a
is
count
deprecated.
of how many people have been on it before?
Yes,
Wow.
there's a count for today, there's a count for this week, and there's a count since 1999.
Wow.
It's got 3 of them.
Dude,
cool.
the guest book, that is awesome.
It's still operating too. There's a post from this week, more than one post.
I mean, we're no longer really in that stage of the internet where everyone has their own little website, their own little subdomain, their GeoCities or whatever, where people go and they sign their guest books. But I wouldn't mind seeing some return of the guest book. It was neat.
It's a cool thing. And there's nothing wrong with the web counter either. It's just one of those old things
I
that
know,
you
it's
don't
just
see very
old,
often.
right.
Yeah. So this man is his name is Arnu. That's his last name.
Probably no trackers there either. No ads.
Jorg Arnu is his name. He said that his girlfriend, again, his home was raided, his door kicked in, smashed in by the federal government, ostensibly over photos that were posted to his website.
And
We're
there
not
is
sure
a
which
forum.
ones.
I Googled a little bit about this
Yep, he's got a
during
forum
the break.
too.
And so it could have been that somebody else posted these.
That's another good point. He explained earlier this week that his girlfriend was, quote, led out into the street barefoot and only in her underwear in full view of the neighbors,
Oh my
unquote,
God.
during the raid, and that he was led outside, quote, handcuffed and only in a T-shirt and sweats in sub-freezing temperatures. Sound familiar, Bonnie?
Yeah, except you aren't a cuck, so you didn't let them make me go outside naked.
You were able to get a robe.
Not calling that guy
Right.
a cuck. That's kind of mean.
I mean-
Like, I wasn't even thinking. Like, it was just like, oh, I have to do what they're saying. And so the fact that this guy didn't think he could say, hey, no, if she's not going outside naked is, like, not his fault.
You do have to. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to cough.
okay.
You do have to stand your ground with these thugs to a reasonable extent, right? If you
Yeah.
stand your ground too much,
They'll
they
shoot
will
you.
shoot you.
Yeah.
But there are certain lines you can draw.
You can
that you don't-
negotiate
yes.
something, a little bit.
Like when they wanted me to strip down and throw off my blanket, the only thing I was wearing at the time, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I knew they weren't going to shoot me for that. On the other hand, this whole, no, I'm not coming down the stairs or putting my hands in the air thing.
That'd
no,
be bad.
They're
Yeah.
going to shoot you for that one.
The federal government, he says, has the right to harass and traumatize random citizens that are not accused of any crime, kick in their doors, manhandle them, and take whatever they want from them. Said citizens have no rights whatsoever to reimbursement of their damages, return of their property, or compensation for the trauma that they were subjected to.
I think you can get your property back, but it involves
Good
a
luck.
lawsuit, and it's going to take years upon years.
Yep, it sure will. The number, if you want to join the show, it's 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. At least this guy got some Fox News coverage. I mean, mainstream media outside of New Hampshire stuff was pretty silent about what happened to the Crypto 6 raid, and we've even got video. More coming up.
Free Talk Live.
Some people actually need laws to know what the hell they do.
I don't think that's true. No, I have to disagree with you. There's only one law that people need to know, and that is do no harm. As long as you aren't hurting other people or stealing their stuff or damaging their property, then you are being law-abiding, because that's the one great natural law as far as I'm concerned. That's what, in fact, when they say, well, you know how they love to say this in court, ignorance of the law is no excuse? Well, that phrase came about when that was the law, when that was pretty much the only concept you had to get, was that you don't hurt other people. Get it? Ignorance of that law, there's no excuse to ignore that law. That makes sense. But to say that ignorance of all these tomes and tomes and tomes of legislation that we have out there, that there's no excuse for that, of course there's an excuse.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join the show and bring up anything you want. We're talking about a man who had his homes raided by the FBI and apparently the Air Force in Nevada. 2 homes. He was in one of them, of course, at the time. He and his girlfriend in his Vegas home. He says were detained and treated in the most disrespectful way. I'm reading now directly from his website, dreamlandresort.com. Which, again, is all about Area 51. You know, he's one of these Area 51 geeks. He's got probably pictures and blogs and things like that. He's got a radio scanner, it looks like, maps.
Why is it all called, why is it called Dreamland 50, or wait, Dreamland what?
Dreamlandresort.com.
It's so weird.
It probably says something on the website about why. I don't know why, but I would suspect it has something to do with the mystery around Area 51.
Could be. And it may be related to the old Art Bell show. I think Art Bell, the radio talk show host that did Coast to Coast AM, I remember hearing something about Dreamland with him. That might have been, maybe that's just a name for this area. I don't know. We're speculating here. If you know and you want to weigh in, the number is 603-283-6160.
Now, was this a conspiracy website, or was this just a, hey, here's some neat facts about Area 51 sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question. There's a frequently asked questions. There's visitor information. It's a big website. Like, there's a lot of content here.
Visiting the website or visiting Area 51?
Presumably, if you want to visit the area around Area 51, obviously you cannot get into Area 51. They will. The old story is if you get too close, Air Force
agents... They can just shoot you.
Well, maybe, but Air Force armed men will come out and stop your advance.
That's why you have to Naruto run faster than the bullets.
That's a reference to the group of people that was going to go out there during COVID, wasn't it?
I think it was during COVID, yeah.
I think so. It was like a distant memory. But
yeah, Mark was going to go and everything.
Was he?
Yeah, he was talking about it, and then he didn't.
No, most of the people who were talking about it didn't obviously, because it's a stupid idea. And I mean, the plan, for those who don't remember, was that a bunch of nerds had this idea that they were going to storm Area 51 because, more or less, the hypothesis was that the government could not shoot them all.
But, like, why would you... Once you got there, they're going to grab you and shoot you. Like, they could grab and shoot you all. I think.
No, that was the theory behind it, is that if they came with thousands upon thousands of people, it would be too many for the government to shoot.
Which is probably true.
Would it really? Like, with machine guns, they couldn't just sit there shooting them all? And even if you did get on, you're just on their base now. They can at least grab you.
Oh, I tend to think you're right, and they underestimated the Air Force's capabilities. I think if the airport wanted to, they could absolutely have mowed them down.
Well, number one, they announced it in advance, so clearly the military would be able to prepare for something like that.
Yeah.
Number two, though, if you were to not announce it in advance, then how many troops are normally on this particular base? Probably not, hundreds of thousands of them, right? It's probably a 1,000 or something like that. Who knows? It's a secret base. We have no idea.
And then, would they want the optics of them killing thousands of people?
No, they probably wouldn't. And there's a good chance that even if you rushed into Area 51, you still wouldn't get into any super secret areas.
You absolutely wouldn't, because you'd run into a need for key cards and PIN numbers.
Underground labs or whatever, right? Who knows?
You can't just rush someone and take their badge and then swipe it and get into a super secure facility like Area 51. It's going to also require you to enter some sort of PIN number.
I'm not sure how big Area 51 is, but Dugway Proving Grounds is as big as Rhode Island, and it's supposed to be Area 52, they say.
This is where you lived.
Yeah. They say that they moved it there. Like, there is no place that you can stand and see onto the base that is, like, the highest classification, because it's so big. Like, you can have telescopes or whatever. Not telescopes.
Didn't you say that there were different areas of security as you get deeper into the base?
Yeah, it's like English Village is E. The next one is named something that starts with a D. The next one is named something like, if you had...
And you have to have that clearance, security
if you had
clearance.
E only on your badge, you could only go in English Village, which is like where I went to high school. If you had C, you could go 2 levels deeper.
Got it.
So the high school itself was within the secure location?
It was more secure than a regular military base. Like, you have to have a Dugway badge to get on that base.
I mean, you had to have security clearance in order to even go to high school.
I had to have Dugway clearance. Like, anyone with a military badge can get on most military bases, but if you have a regular military badge, you can't get on Dugway. Like, they gave people who were, like, dependents. Like, my dad worked on a clinic on Dugway Proving Ground, and so he only really had access to English Village, so we got it because of him. But as soon as I was a grown-up, like, graduated high school, I wasn't allowed to stay there unless I had a full-time job.
So, let's see. What else do you need to know about this? Dude had his stuff stolen. That's confirmed from his blog post here, according to...
It's not surprising. If there's anything the government's good at other than killing people, it's stealing from people.
Yep, they took all his phones, laptops, backup drives, camera gear, and his drone, all seized. and therefore he lost all his medical records, financial and tax records, passwords, email and phone contacts, photos, etc. So here's what you can take away from this. Besides the knowledge that this could happen to you at any time, for any excuse, any reason, he doesn't really get into... He doesn't claim anything about what the warrant might have said if he was even presented with it. All he says is that they were told that it had something to do with images posted to his website. But the thing you can take away from this is if you don't yet have some sort of system for an off-site backup for things like that are important to you, whether they be just your passwords or whether they are your photos or whatever data information for your business, whatever we're talking about, things that are critical, mission critical information. If you haven't yet hired some company, I'm not going to make any recommendations. I don't know which ones are the best. I don't know which ones are the most secure, but just having something off of your premises is a huge help in a situation like this. As long as you have the password to get back into that offsite backup, you can restore all your files onto your new laptop or your new desktop computer that you had to buy because they stole your stuff.
I'm not recommending them because it's been years since I used them, but when I did IT, I used a company called Mozy Pro to do these sorts of things to help prevent people from dealing with ransomware and things like that. You just click a button, it automatically restores their files. So if they were encrypted by ransomware, it undid all of that basically, and it would keep up
Save you thousands of dollars right there.
And it would keep, up to 10 different backups. So they would have to have the ransomware encrypting their files over a period of, 30 days, and you'd catch it by then. Anyway, it was really awesome. I don't know what it would be like for an individual to have to use it, but you could set it up to back up, every single day or every single hour or just whenever there were changes made, and it was a fantastic utility. And people should do this because...
And how much did it cost?
I think... Well, this was a business thing, so it wasn't... I don't remember the exact specifics, but it was
You can get this stuff for like
business.
10, 20, 30 bucks a month.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it because ransomware hits individuals, and you can lose all of your years of family photos, everything. You could
that may be more likely than an FBI raid. Maybe not. I don't know.
And
what's more likely, an FBI raid or ransomware at this point? They seem to be happening more often.
And a lot of people just want to back up onto a flash drive and things like that, and that will help to an extent. But the FBI will take that.
Yeah.
And it won't help you with ransomware, usually because most people don't actually disconnect the flash drive, so they leave it plugged in, so it gets encrypted too.
Well, if you label it karaoke, they won't take it.
You're referring to what happened here?
Yeah.
Well, they probably took a look at it and said, okay, well, this is literally just karaoke.
Maybe they did. I don't know. But you can't, don't leave this to chance, okay? So take away from this lesson that just take the time, do a little bit of research, find one of these automated tools that's got good reviews. You just download their app, and then you tell it you want to back up the whole drive, or maybe you just want to get certain files or certain folders. You spend maybe an hour of your time on this, and it will be a huge help in the event.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, in the event. Well, don't forget it. Maybe check in on it every few months just to make sure. Like there's a service we have that we'll get an email if something disconnects, right? They'll say, hey, something happened. You haven't backed up in 3 days. Check it out. I'm like, oh, crap, the thing's not running for some reason. But for the most part, these things are pretty reliable.
I absolutely cannot recommend backup systems more highly because of the threat that ransomware poses. FBI aside, ransomware is hitting people every single day, and the price of this can be a tenth of a Bitcoin or a whole Bitcoin, and people don't have $1,500 or $15,000 or $50,000 or whatever just to get their family photos, so they're just heartbroken, and it's something they can never recover from. So you can eliminate all of those risks by just setting up a simple backup solution.
He points out there he did get the search warrant. He says there are 40 pages missing from the search warrant I received, and the case records are sealed, so I cannot look up the reason for the search, and I don't want to speculate. And again, he talks about how the FBI won't return his calls. He said his lawyer told him, quote, by the time you get your laptops back, they will be obsolete if you get them back. He has suggested he will take legal action in order to recover his property. He has a GoFundMe set up. You can find a link to that on his website, dreamlandresort.com. It's right there on the front page. And this stuff just keeps on happening to people. And it's sick. I mean, this guy's not accused of any kind of crime at all. He was not arrested during this. They simply detained him during the search. And then, by the way, they left him with no way to call for any help with 2 broken doors. So, I don't know, I guess they had to go walk somewhere. More coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. At least 162 people are now known to have died in an earthquake in Indonesia. The epicenter was on the island of Java, with hundreds of people already reported as injured. The quake struck at lunchtime on Monday local time and registered a magnitude of 5.6. A massive emergency response is now going through the night in a bid to find additional survivors. In other news, several people attending a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Colorado have been hailed as heroes after subduing a gunman and preventing a deadly weekend shooting from being even worse. Investigators in Colorado Springs are searching for the motive behind the attack, which left at least 5 people dead and 25 people injured. FSN's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher with more.
People inside Club Q in Colorado Springs described a scene of chaos as the gunman opened fire immediately after entering. The city's mayor said a patron had grabbed a handgun from the shooter before hitting him with it. Others then pinned him down until the police arrived. The mayor described the intervention as an incredible act of heroism. An investigation's now underway to determine whether the shooting was a hate crime and if more than one person was involved. The suspect, named by police as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich, is in police custody. Kate Fisher, Washington.
In a surprise overnight move, Disney has replaced its current CEO with his predecessor. Bob Iger is returning once again to helm the media empire in a bid to boost its financial prospects. He previously served as CEO for 15 years. There's lots going on at the World Cup in Qatar. Iran's players refused to sing the country's national anthem at the opening of their match today with England, a sign of the players' support for demonstrations roiling Iran following the death in custody of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. England won that game 6-2. Meanwhile, the soccer associations of several European nations are hitting back at FIFA after it threatened to take sanctions against any players wearing One Love rainbow armbands on the pitches of Qatar. Sports correspondent Joe Rawson with news of that latest last-minute decision by the sports governing body.
FIFA saying that if the captains had have worn the rainbow One Love armbands, then the players wearing the armbands would have been shown a yellow card. So the countries who planned to do it, they didn't want to have Harry Kane, for instance, Gareth Bale, shown a yellow card before the game had even started.
A spokesman for UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak described the FIFA decision as putting players in a very difficult position, saying Qatar's policies on gay rights are not those of the UK and not ones we would endorse. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. What to make of the decision by North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un to introduce his young daughter to the public late last week. Having never previously been glimpsed, she was a very visible presence at her father's side during a recent trip to watch a missile being launched. North Korean analysts found the sudden presence of Kim's daughter more interesting than the rocket launch. Simon Sebag Montefiore is an historian who has charted the history of the Kim family.
He's confirming and promoting family rule. He's the third ruler from this family in direct succession. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, came to power in 1945. By introducing the fourth generation, he's saying, the family is offering continuity. And this daughter, who there's never been a female ruler, but his sister, Kim Yo-jong, is also very important now. So it may be that he's introducing the idea of a new thing, a female succession.
Very little is known about Kim's daughter, but the basketball star Dennis Rodman said back in 2013 that he had met her during one of several visits he made to Pyongyang, even holding her as a baby. South Korean intelligence says Kim has 2 other children with his wife, but all of their details are a closely guarded North Korean secret. The main news again, at least 162 people are now known to have died in an earthquake on the Indonesian island of Java. Several people attending a gay nightclub in the US state of Colorado have been hailed as heroes for subduing a gunman and preventing a deadly shooting over the weekend from being even worse. And European soccer associations have criticised a last-minute FIFA ruling warning players will be sanctioned if they wear rainbow armbands during World Cup matches in Qatar. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
A new study finds most high school graduates are woefully unprepared for high school, and a bag of flour has a slave auction on its front. This is the Onion Week in Review. This week, Secretary of Labor Thomas Perez unveiled plans to boost the nation's struggling job market by giving every unemployed American a self-serve yogurt shop, saying that the frozen yogurt business model is robust, profitable, and that they've pretty much exhausted other options. Perez explained that owners will be responsible for stocking their own topping bars with items such as Oreo crumbles, minced kiwi, cashews, and gummy bears. Estimates indicate the country will need to increase daily consumption of frozen yogurt by approximately 2.3 gallons per person in order for the new stores to remain solvent. And in this week's local news, something is apparently going on between a mom and her friend. In other news, Taco Bell warns its employees against ever exposing their skin to its food. A sad man tears 2 bananas off of a larger bunch, and a new report finds everything you've ever wanted has been right in front of you all along.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour of the show. You can bring up anything you want. Number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. Whether you want to talk about the FBI raiding a man's homes in Nevada. He had more than one house, 2 houses. Was both raided by the FBI and the Air Force, apparently because he runs an Area 51 website called dreamlandresort.com. I did put a link there on our social media. You can follow the FTL account at social.freetalklive.com. I put a link right to his blog post. It'll tell you about the raid. It's a pretty crazy situation, and I don't wish it on anybody, unless there's an actual violent criminal. But we hear about these raids happening so often to news people. I mean, it happened a year ago to the Project Veritas people.
It did.
It happened to us.
And that was over someone's diary, some political person's child's
Ashley
diary.
Biden's daughter.
That was it.
Biden's granddaughter? Daughter?
No, it's daughter.
Daughter.
The Biden family seems to have a really bad problem with leaving incriminating, important information lying around.
Yeah, well, they can
Maybe they want to tell on their dad, but they'll get killed if they do.
Could be. And also they're so powerful it doesn't matter. They can just leave all that stuff lying around and they're never going to get held responsible for it.
Didn't her diary make reference to bathing with her father or something like that? Am I misremembering?
I've heard that, but I've never read it. So
yeah, I don't know if that was in the
but
diary, but yeah, that's something that is said. about those two.
And
anyway,
she says, I feel like I was sexually assaulted.
There's
Supposedly.
a story about this World Cup. This is I guess, international level soccer championship that's been going on recently, Arya, and you want to share that. That's coming up. We'll get into it because there's some controversy about this. But first, we go to Major Payne on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Yeah, they took the beer away from them. That's what the controversy is.
Really?
They wouldn't let the Clydesdale Budweiser. Budweiser had a contract to supply the beer for this particular gala event, and in a non-drinking country.
People are dying, Major.
Must the kibosh to it.
What do you mean they're dying?
Violated contract. I don't know what's going to become of it.
It's Qatar, which has the death penalty, and it criminalizes homosexuality. It has nothing to do with drinking. I don't know what he's talking about. The controversy has nothing to do with drinking. It's got to do with, Qatar and a lot of Middle Eastern countries murdering gay people for being gay.
Major, was that why you're calling tonight?
I think he was trying to make a joke.
No, most Muslim countries they don't believe in alcohol consumption of any kind.
Yeah, that's true. Saudi Arabia, too.
That's true. So it sounds like what you're saying is there's more than one controversy over there. We'll get into Arya's here in a moment. But is that why you were calling tonight? Was about the World Cup?
No. I called in about the global conference that went on with NATO here that Al Gore is representing us on.
Okay, what's that?
Evidently,
he's not representing me.
Of course, he's not representing me either, dude. I'm just speaking in the we the people type scenario.
Is it in America? Or is it somewhere else?
Oh, of course it's somewhere else. It's over in Qatar or some damn place. I don't know.
Oh, it's in Qatar also?
He doesn't know. He said he doesn't know. All right, what do we need to know about this?
Well, anyway, Al Gore, there were demands of reparations to be paid for climatic impacts upon countries by larger countries that had bank books. And I'm China Joe, he's trying to tear down coal plants here in America, and for every one we tear down, I guarantee they build 3 to 30, and we're going to pay reparations, and China gets a scoot for a third world country as well as India.
So you're saying smaller countries were demanding reparations based on climate change from wealthy countries?
Based on damage from storms over climate change, which we both know does not exist.
Wow.
Climates do change. Weather patterns change. The biggest problem we got is the chemtrails and them trying to change the weather patterns.
Well, I know one thing, that the worst thing that first world countries have done for third world countries is fake helping them.
Like loaning them money and then saying, hey, nationalize your water department or sell your water department to our corporation, or we're going to not give you any more money, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing.
Economic world domination, I think. One of these Zeitgeist movies, and I've got a lot of criticism about these Zeitgeist films.
Sure.
However, one of them talks about this. I don't remember what they called it, but it was very fascinating what the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, and a lot of these other major world Western banks do in order to take control effectively of smaller countries.
Yeah, so this thing has made some headlines, I guess, that you're talking about, Major Payne, and thank you for the call tonight. Joe Biden apparently promised $1 billion, according to FoxNews.com. Joe Biden has been torched for agreeing to climate reparations after promising up to $1 billion for climate reparations for poor countries that have suffered damages due to the use of fossil fuels.
Wow, he has a lot of money.
Now, whether or not he can actually commit to this is another thing, right? Like, he can say that he intends to do this, but he probably can't authorize the spending of $1 billion without congressional approval, would be my guess.
And I don't think it matters. $1 billion, I mean, that's meaningless.
That's like 1/90th of what they've sent Ukraine so far this year.
Yeah, $1 billion to, Venezuela or Bolivia or whatever. I can't be bothered to care about this because it's such an inconsequential amount of money. I mean, how much, I don't remember the number, but the U.S. government is spending billions of dollars every single second. That's what a lot of people, they criticize Elon Musk. This $44 billion could have, we need to tax the rich because this could have funded the government. Yeah, for like 30 seconds maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the amount of money they're spending is absolutely absurd. $1 billion is meaningless
Chump
on
change.
top of that.
Yeah. You want to comment, though? You're welcome to join us here, 603-283-6160. So, Qatar, this is a very restrictive Muslim country, as I understand it.
Isn't Al Jazeera based out of there?
Yep.
And that's sort of what makes me sad, because I thought Qatar was one of the less evil of the Middle Eastern regimes.
They just don't get the press. I mean, they're probably just as evil, but they're not probably as large.
They're definitely not getting the press. I have a large number of friends who love football, and they're watching the World Cup. Or
Soccer. Football, yeah.
I'm going to keep calling it football, though, to bother the Americans out there who can't stand that. Cause
it confused me a little. I'm not going to lie. I was like, football or
I'm
soccer?
Sorry. Everyone else calls soccer football.
Yeah.
Football.
Which makes sense because you use your feet to play it, whereas Americans, I prefer to call that rugby football. But you're right. For the sake of clarity, I will just call it soccer.
By the way, only 2.7 million people live in Qatar. It is a relatively small country.
You're right. You play only with your feet to play soccer, but you can use your hands for football. So.
Yeah. In football, you almost never touch the foot with your ball. Like two positions do that.
Very rarely.
So back in 2010, Qatar got permission, or they won their bid to host the World Cup, and that's sort of the Super Bowl of football, soccer. It's the Super Bowl of soccer, because that was super confusing.
Yeah, sure.
Except it's worldwide, because rugby football, American football, only Americans really care about it to the extent that it's popular, but the rest of the world cares about soccer, and that makes the World Cup a very, very big deal.
Sure.
And the World Cup is effectively a tournament, as I understand it, to see who, is the best soccer team in the world. And in 2010-ish, Qatar won the bid to have it for this year. And Qatar, of course, is very much like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Well, not Pakistan, not so much, I don't think. And other Middle Eastern countries that have lost sight of the Sufi tradition and other Islamic traditions which preach that there is no compulsion in religion, that just because someone does a thing you don't like doesn't mean you get to behead them. Of course, Saudi Arabia is in the news for beheading a lot of people for doing things that its government doesn't like. And Qatar, of course, is one of the Middle Eastern Muslim countries that criminalizes homosexuality.
Oh, okay.
And this is what caused a stir in the worldwide community is, hey, you're supporting this government that is homophobic and that criminalizes gay people, puts gay people in prison, disappears them, kills them, and all of these other things, and we don't support that.
We'll talk about it coming up here. Qatar, by the way, is about half of the size of New Hampshire.
Whoa, that's really small. I didn't expect that.
Fairly small.
And a smaller population, right?
No, higher population. So the population density is a little more. It's about twice the population of New Hampshire. More coming up here in moments. You can join the show. We'll talk about the controversy in the World Cup.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open. You can join the show, bring up whatever you want. The number here is 603-283-6160. We're going to get into the World Cup controversy, at least one of them. Apparently, one of the controversies is there's no alcohol allowed in Qatar, but more importantly, gay people are also persecuted there. Put to death, perhaps? I don't know all the details, but Aria is going to tell us a little bit more. And you can share your thoughts here at 603-283-6160. By the way, I want to say thanks to Bitcoin.com for being such long-time great sponsors here on Free Talk Live. That's where you can go to learn about cryptocurrency. Good time to start learning, too, because it might be that the price is on the way down again. Earlier today, the Bitcoin price cracked below and still below 16,000, just over 15,800 right now. So this is a recent, probably not quite 2-year low or thereabouts. It's maybe a good time to buy. Some people think it's going to go down to $11,000 or $12,000. Of course, you never know what's going to happen.
Go even lower.
It could.
I mean, Peter Schiff is saying it's going to die.
Well, they've been saying that forever.
Obviously.
Bitcoin is not going to die. There is a bit of a disaster happening with the centralized exchange known as FTX, and it turns out that exchange has been connected with a bunch of other businesses in the crypto community, and so a lot of places are possibly going to go bankrupt, but Bitcoin will go on because Bitcoin's not a company. It's an idea. Anyway, you can go and learn more about it, learn about Bitcoin Cash over at bitcoin.com. Just click Get Started at the top of the page. You can watch some introductory videos there. If all you got is 5 minutes, just watch that first video. It'll take you just a few minutes to get some of the basic concepts down, which you really want to do before you decide to get into cryptocurrency. Of course, one of those basic concepts that we've been trying to teach people and that's being taught again with this FTX exchange failure is not your keys, not your coins. If you let somebody else hold on to your Bitcoin for you, then you are at their mercy as far as what might possibly happen. It could be bad things that happen to them, and they could lose your Bitcoins.
Well, even if you can trust them to not lose your Bitcoin, why would you when you can hold on to it yourself and not have to worry about it?
You can't trust that the FBI and the Air Force won't show up and steal all their Bitcoin wallets right out of their offices. So who knows? Anyway, go to bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page. Let's go to Phil. He's on the line in California, and then we'll get into Qatar and what's going on over there. Phil, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. Sorry to kind of switch up topics on you guys.
No apologies necessary. Go ahead.
This is one of those, like, pardon my ignorance.
Uh-oh.
It seems I listen to a lot of talk radio, podcasts, whenever I get a chance when I travel a lot.
Okay.
So I've noticed there's certain companies, I wonder if it comes from the top down. Like, you notice it a lot with ESPN, where they'll always fit in these things that they don't seem like they fit in. Like, they'll just have to throw in, like, something that has nothing to do with sports, like fair and balanced elections, but they'll put it in in talking about something completely different. But then it's just not one show; it's multiple shows that have to throw this in, and some of the hosts feel like it seems like they don't even want to throw it in, but they do. So I'm wondering, do these things come from the top down? And, I mean, I've noticed it a lot with my favorite talk show host ever, who I can't stand anymore, is Howard Stern. It seems like he just throws in this stuff, and he goes on about these. Like,
what sort of stuff? Because you've only given one example, and all you said about it was fair and balanced election. So I have no idea what sort of stuff you're talking about them throwing in.
Can you be specific about, like, what did Howard Stern do that got your attention?
Gosh. When the whole COVID shot thing, they'd always throw in stuff about, the shot, if we have the shot, then, I mean, before the vaccine came out, they'd always be like, the vaccine will come and we can get back to normal. So that would be another example. I mean, I didn't come prepared with a
Well, okay. I mean, just on the COVID thing, what you're talking about is this mass psychosis. People were under the spell of the governments and the medicine manufacturers out there, the pharmaceutical companies. They were under the spell of all of these liars, and they just parroted the lies. That's what happened there. They were afraid.
But there's lots of examples with mass media saying, like, lots of different newscasters saying the same thing in the same exact language. So I think that's not exactly what it means. It's probably not just that they were all thinking the same thing. Like, I could totally see it being from the top down. Like, sometimes I see just types of, and the thing is, I can't give an example either. I haven't even been on Instagram in over a month, but sometimes I see the same phrases used by celebrities over and over, and I'm just like, you obviously didn't all think that yourself and just go, I want to put this on your,
Well, in the case of,
that's
well, I was going to say, in the case of newscasts, some of these companies, I know what you're talking about, Bonnie, because they would show, like, there's YouTube videos or whatever which show a clip from one newscaster saying the same thing and then a clip from 20 other newscasters saying exactly the same thing. In many cases, this is a top-down thing because you may be dealing with, let's say, Hearst, which is a corporation that owns a bunch of television stations.
Exactly. I'm not trying to make it more than what it is, like a conspiracy
I'm explaining how
thing.
this happens because the video makes it seem like, oh my God, this is some crazy conspiracy. And maybe it is.
It is a little bit.
But what it is this as simple as the corporations have been trying to cut costs for years. These television stations and radio stations, many of them are losing money, and they have been slashing their employee budgets for the last couple decades, basically. And so what's happened is there's fewer people that are writing the news. And so the people who do write the news that news gets on multiple stations. Now, they still have, at least on television, they still have a local guy in the studio, right? Or more than one local person. But they might be reading the same news.
It'll be different, like very different news people. Like, it's not going to be like Fox News 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, no, they all said the same thing. That'd be obvious. It's like, lots of different ones. that don't have
What
the
I'm
same
trying to
owner.
explain is, well, okay, maybe they are doing it from cross owners. That would be more surprising to me. When you see the exact same script, it's likely to be the same company that's doing that. Clear Channel, or what's now known as iHeartMedia in radio, they have somebody at their headquarters who's writing content that then gets distributed on all of their radio stations' websites. So you'll see the same exact stories.
What we're talking about right now is just like a talking head.
Mhm.
But what he's talking about, like Howard Stern, should be saying his own words, right? But then like all the other ones are also saying the same thing. What I'm talking
Well, in
about
that
is
case,
more
it's
similar to
probably
that.
as simple as they're reading a government press release. You know, the state puts out a press release, like, you know how when the Crypto 6 raids happened, there was a Department of Justice press release that made certain statements about us, and most of the media that ran stories just took those statements directly and just ran them as though they were the story with very little changes. So I think that's probably what you're running into. You're probably just running into the nature of consolidation on corporate media.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So they'll just get a press release, but it's just specific language. Like a big one was they were trying, like all these news outlets were demonizing a basketball player, Kyrie Irving.
All right, stand by. We'll get to if you want to keep telling the story.
Yeah, I
I'm
heard
happy
about
to hear
that.
another example.
He's going to talk about Kyrie Irving. We heard that little clip from him before.
I don't know what it was. You'll have to refresh me on that. The number here is 603-283-6160. Oh, is this an anti-Jewish statement? Was that what it was?
He posted a Alex Jones video to his own Instagram.
Oh, can't do that. More coming up here in moments. You can join the show and share your thoughts on media consolidation.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Investigators have filed murder and hate crime charges against the suspect accused of shooting 5 people dead at a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Colorado. 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich allegedly fired an AR-15 style weapon in Club Q on Saturday night, killing 5 people and injuring more than 25 more. FSN's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher has more.
People inside Club Q in Colorado Springs described a scene of chaos as the gunman opened fire immediately after entering. The city's mayor said a patron had grabbed a handgun from the shooter before hitting him with it. Others then pinned him down until the police arrived. The mayor described the intervention as an incredible act of heroism. The suspect is in custody and receiving medical treatment. The investigation continues.
A Taiwanese chip-making firm has announced it's bringing its most advanced technology to the company's new facility in the U.S. state of Arizona. The news comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Beijing. Nick Harper reports.
Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company says that Arizona will be getting a high-tech boost. Its $12 billion facility, that's still under construction, will manufacture 3-nanometer chips, the most advanced technology that it produces. TSMC accounts for an estimated 90% of the global supply of super-advanced computer chips, and counts Apple and Qualcomm among its customers. The Biden administration has ramped up the chip war with China, pushing American investment and production, while at the same time imposing controls on Chinese companies by restricting the sale of advanced chips and the equipment to make them to those firms. And with tensions already bubbling over America's support of Taiwan, the island's position as the world's leading chip manufacturer has now further strained relations between Washington and Beijing.
U.S. stocks lost ground on Monday in what is set to be a shortened trading week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And it was COVID news out of China that dampened sentiment on Wall Street. William Denzelo reports from New York.
The news that China's reported its first COVID-19 related deaths since May spooked the US markets Monday. Fears are growing that an increase of cases in China will lead to more lockdowns and ramifications for supply chains and the global economy. The Dow Jones closed the day down 0.1%, the S&P 0.4%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq slipped 1.1%. The Federal Reserve was also in focus Monday. Speculation's been growing over whether the central bank will ease its aggressive interest rate hikes following signs that inflation may be cooling. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said Monday that rate hikes will continue until there's more evidence that price pressures are easing.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. By the way, I want to say thank you to Brian LePla, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program, AMPS. It stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It is a way for you to get behind what we do for as little as $5 per month. And Brian's actually doing 10, so thank you, Brian, for doubling up and becoming gold level there. You can join him at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com. It's a Patreon. You get access to the custom podcast that Patreon offers that has our commercial-free radio show. So you get the full radio content without any of the recorded commercials. If you are a member of that Patreon, you can go to amps.freetalklive.com. That'll take you right over to it. We got Phil on the line here in California. And I did, by the way, Phil, I pulled up this clip that I was remembering, and I think, Bonnie, you might have been referring to this. Phil, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so I'm just going to play this here. This is from 4 years ago, looks like. And the channel, to give credit here, is Shoot Me Dead on YouTube. Although this popped up everywhere, this is probably not the original post of this video, but here it is.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities.
Now what it's doing here is it's flipping from one news feed to the next and putting them up on the screen simultaneously. That's when you'll hear the sort of the multi-voice harmonizing.
A warning for people, it does become very difficult to listen to at times.
It does. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You get the
Las
point.
Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about trouble and trying to get irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
It has 9 different simultaneous feeds here of these different news companies. And what's important to point out is, and you can't see this or you can't hear this on the radio, but there's an ABC, there's a Fox, there's a CBS. So you've got different quote-unquote brands of news that are saying the same thing.
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish.
It just goes on. It's not even
That's
halfway.
way more than 9, yeah.
Yeah, it's let's see, there's 6 per row, and there's going to be 6 rows. So this is going to be 36 when this clip is done. But it gets you the point that they're trying to make in this video. And Phil, I suspect that this is part of what you're talking about when you're hearing a sort of homogenous message on media.
Part of it, yeah. But it's also, I think it more has to do with opinions. That it seems like it seems like when you're listening to something and you just listen to it, just a singular show or whatever, and you hear an opinion, you're like, okay, that's their opinion, whatever. But it seems like things are forced in, and I think I noticed this a lot with the Kyrie Irving thing. I just want to use that as an example. I won't dwell on this topic, but it started off, he plays in New York City. They had the vaccine mandate, I think it was last year, and he wouldn't take the shot. So he was willing to sit out
Nice.
and not play and forfeit his salary,
Good for
which
him.
is, $25 million he's giving up.
It's commendable.
Not like $10. Yeah, for sure. And everything, he posts stuff on social media all the time. Even stuff he doesn't really agree with or whatever. He puts out things that make people think.
Mm-hmm.
Just different sources, different opinions. He posted something from Alex Jones. He posted, I think, pardon my ignorance on this if I'm wrong, but I think it was a movie that basically said that it talked about the Black Israelites, and different that was the whole Jewish thing, and how I think it went into banks and everything taken over by. Yeah, I don't know the whole. I don't know, but I think that is the gist of it. But if you listen to these shows, especially sports talk, like an ESPN or a Fox, they all seem to throw out generic, this is this guy, I can't believe anti-Jew, anti-Jewish, rather than but they never got into what he actually did.
Of course not.
When I think all he did was, sorry?
I feel like I know what you're talking about. Sometimes I can tell that somebody in my real life who's talking to me about a current event, I can tell that a part of their opinion is seeded by celebrities or by whoever they listen to, because they're regurgitating the same exact language I've seen elsewhere, and it's just that's not even your opinion. You're just regurgitating, and maybe what you're saying is actually Howard Stern was told by someone higher up than him to add this language in because it's the seed.
What do you want? Do you want ESPN to give you a half-hour special on the history of Jews and banking? I mean,
no.
So they're just not allowed to have opinions about things?
Oh, they can, but it feels forced.
Okay.
Like it's just when it comes into a point when you're listening to people talk and then they just throw something in, even where it doesn't belong. They'll be like, well, the Patriots had a great game today, and unlike Kyrie Irving and his anti-Jewish point, it would be just random like that. It just kind of squeezed in.
And also superficial, they won't go, they don't have to go into all of it to explain because the thing is, I'm not as familiar with this Kyrie Irving thing, so I can't use it as an example, but they don't go into it at all. They don't go they don't even explain that he just posted an Alex Jones video. They'll just say he's anti-Semitic. Then you'll see people on Twitter saying he's anti-Semitic, and they don't know anything else about it other than that they heard that he was anti-Semitic.
Well, you got to remember, people are, for the most part, not journalists. Even the journalists that we see today are really sucky at it. Right? They don't do a good job.
They're terrible propagandists, and they're mouthpieces for the government more often than not.
Yeah, so you got to remember that people are lazy, and they don't want to do the research, so they do just regurgitate. They do just parrot. They don't bother to talk to the source, because I'm sure most of these sports guys could call up Kylie Irving, or Kyrie, or whatever the hell his name is, Mr. Irving's agent, Kyrie. Anyway, call up his agent and say, hey, we want to book Mr. Irving for ESPN. But that might piss off the bosses. So there may very well be some pressure coming down from on top, like, hey, don't pay attention to this guy. He's upset the powers that be, that kind of thing. And it could just simply be laziness of, well, I heard this guy was a racist. Let's just say he was a racist on national radio or national television without ever checking the story for ourselves. It could just simply be laziness. So it could be a combination of many of these factors, Phil. And I'm glad you called in about it tonight. Thank you for calling and enjoy the.
I do want to end on one thing.
Yes, sir.
I do want to end on one thing. I want to say is one thing will get me to New Hampshire, and I would love to come back. I got a lot here in California and Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, Alvern football's coaching job has come up, and if I get that job, I will come back.
What's Alvern football?
Alvern, Hudson, New Hampshire High School.
Oh, okay. Hey, good luck, Phil. Thanks for the call tonight,
good luck on that, man.
I appreciate it. So,
I should have asked whether he meant American football or
high school football.
actual football.
Oh, right. So there's a comment below, because this video is very persuasive, right? You got CBS, you got Fox, you got ABC, reporters saying the exact same thing, and on its face, it would make you think, oh, well, this is huge, right? This is beyond just one company. But it actually turns out. But it turns out somebody actually looked it up, and they looked up, well, who owns Fox 29 San Antonio, and who owns Fox 66 and KATU and CBS 4 in El Paso? All owned by the same company, the Sinclair Broadcast Group. So these people don't have any alliance with one news company, per se, ABC versus CBS. Sinclair itself has different, different arrangements, right? They have, what do they call them, affiliations.
That's even worse.
I mean, it's just as weird, Ian. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, okay, that's better. Because it's just like they want everyone from every political perspective to hear. Why? Like,
Well,
do
that's
you really
exactly
think
it. You
there's no
say
one?
it's just as bad. No, it's way worse.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is clearly...
I don't buy it that there's nobody that wants to write for the news. Like, have an
I'm not
overpaid
saying
job.
that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're cutting jobs. And so they don't have that many people writing.
4 years ago,
they
were
want
they?
it from on. Yeah, they've been cutting them for decades. More coming up. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Nobody loves their cable company except for internet access. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. To find what you want to watch, rather than the several hundred channels your cable or satellite menu force feeds you, explore cordcuttersnews.com. It's a buyer's guide for spending less or spending nothing on television. Founder Luke Bouma told me that for the vast majority of Americans, everything they want to watch is available streaming. The only reason many still subscribe to cable or satellite is live sports, and many team channels now offer streaming. Some cord cutters do end up paying cable-size money, but what they end up with is 100% their menu. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join the show. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And join us online anytime you want. Head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features there. We have a bunch of them, including our podcast page. You can go to feeds.freetalklive.com and you'll find links to our official podcast where you get the daily digest of the show, which is about 50% of the content, what our editor Riley Blake determines to be the most important 50% of the show. And you get that every single day in our podcast. You can get the link to that over at feeds.freetalklive.com. There's also a link there to our Patreon, which will allow you to get the full 2 hours of Free Talk Live. There are also other ways to get the full radio show where you don't have to subscribe to a Patreon. Our syndicate, Genesis Communications Network, offers their own podcast, which has literally the full radio show with all the commercials. I don't know if it has the news breaks in it, but a lot of content there over at Feeds.
But it's broken into 3 parts.
Yeah, 1 hour chunks basically.
To get the full show in one file, I think you have to go to the apps program.
You can also do Odyssey, and then you get the video version of it, which not everybody wants to download a 2 gigabyte.
Well, I'm working on the audio thing again, so eventually.
Yeah, we're working on getting all the old stuff, or most of the old stuff, posted to Odyssey. We haven't really talked about that publicly because it's going to be a while before it's done.
Well, we're up to 2010 now.
Okay, making progress.
We're making.
You got through almost half a decade at this point. So
right now, there's no way for somebody to listen to a show from 2006.
Oh, there is.
There is now. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there was before as well. They just had to go to Libsyn to do it.
Well, there was before on the website.
Yeah, it's not on the website right now. I think there's a link to this new Odyssey channel, but we haven't been promoting it. But if you go to archives.freetalklive.com, I think the link is there for you if you want to check that out. And of course, our SoundCloud channel is still in action, and that does go back to about 2011. So I would say we've got almost everything up there from one source or another, basically.
Well, before that, I'm sure there's a link to the Libsyn, which
I don't think it was linked anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just sort of up there for in case people had old forum links that linked to those files.
Well, they still exist somewhere on Libsyn. You can go search for them. I'll probably find them if you want.
Yeah, that's true. All right, but check out freetalklive.com for lots of content. We're still in the works of reworking everything. We had to blow up our website a year and a half ago, and it's hard to replace good web people, let me tell you, and hard to replace a real great systems admin. So we're trying to pick up the pieces as best we can. So head over to freetalklive.com. The thing is that hasn't changed is it's still a free website, so enjoy all the content that we have there. So Bonnie, you were making a point about this news stuff. We'll get into the Qatar story here a little deeper, but we were talking about news homogeneity. That's it. Homogeneity. That's the word I'm looking for.
What's the difference?
I don't know. The homogenization of news, right? The homogenization of content. And we played a clip from one of these videos that shows all these different newscasters purportedly in different markets saying the exact same thing. Now, what somebody pointed out is all of these stations, even though they're Fox and CBS and all that, are all owned by one company called Sinclair Broadcasting. And what happens in the business of these television and radio stations is somebody at the top is writing this script, and it is being distributed to all of these stations, and they are probably being told, you have to run this particular story. So yes, there is definitely control from the top. Now, is it a evil kind of back room filled with smoke Bilderberg group plot to...
Well, maybe not evil inherently, but it's not good when you have one opinion being broadcast to so many people. I
agree. It's not good at all.
It seems like, not that I want it to be illegal or something like that, but it seems like it can easily be manipulated if it's not specifically being used for evil.
This is sort of the issue with corporations as I understand it. My issue with this is that it's now suddenly you have Fox News and CBS and NBC, which the average person thinks are sort of not enemies of each other, but they're on different sides of the aisle, so to speak. Like Fox is on the right and CBS is on the left. So suddenly you have the left and the right saying the same thing. So someone, it reinforces them. It creates where there's no alternative perspective, so to speak. And it would be clearer if, I think you said, I don't remember let's say Hartel Communications or whatever was the company that owned all of these things, if they were, instead of being branded Fox 24 or CBS 13 or whatever, it just said Hartel Media Network. It hides the fact that it's all coming from a single source.
That's a great point.
And it's corporations that allow this to happen.
Yeah, well, thankfully we have the internet to make this clear, right? Because if this was, 1989, you wouldn't know what the newscaster in New York City or in Seattle or in El Paso or whatever was saying. You would have no idea. So we actually get to know more now about how these things work. We're seeing the veil pulled back from mainstream media. And I'm not saying this isn't a plot, right? Like it's very well possible that the owner of Sinclair Broadcasting could be part of the World Economic Forum or whatever, right? It's like these people have a pro-government perspective, whether it's some sort of overarching, grandiose New World Order plan, or just sort of the way things have gone because the government runs the schools and indoctrinates people to believe that the government is necessary and the government is good, right?
If anything, it shows how easy it would be when people go like, how could there be a group of people or a small group of people in the world who want to control the rest of the world? How could they even do that? Like, it shows how easy it would be for them to, because if one person from the World Economic Forum, let's just say that for easy explanation, wanted a message to get out to like thousands of people of different political perspectives, they could tell that writer, this is what you're going to write.
Right. That's exactly right.
It's ripe for abuse. Even if it's not evil, even if it's not currently being used for evil, it is absolutely ripe for abuse.
I mean, it is being used for evil. I mean, here they are saying this message here. It's hard to hear it, right? Because there's so many of the voices in unison saying it. But the message of this clip is that these news people are saying, look, there's misinformation out there. You can get the right information from us. We are the truth. We are the news. We're the network. All right, we actually just watched a movie about this last night from 1989, Weird Al's UHF from back in the day. If you haven't seen UHF and you like a good sketch comedy, you should, skit comedy or whatever, you should check it out.
It was so funny.
But Weird Al's movie is about this sort of scrappy underdog television station on UHF, which I had to explain to Bonnie was the upper channel numbers back in the day.
Yeah, that was like channel 14. Well,
it was like 20 through 60 or 70 or something like that.
I watched The Simpsons on there every single day at 5:30.
Yeah, and then there was on the lower channels, like channels 1 through 20 or whatever, it was the network channels, the ABC, the CBS, the big stations were the ones that were the lower channels.
This was on those television with like two knobs. You had to flip the top one to U in order to access the
lower knob. Yeah, so
that's good times.
So the lower channels, or rather the higher channels in this case, was it 62? I think in the movie.
Oh, I
Bonnie's looking at us like y'all are making this up.
The higher channels were the more independent operations. They were the ones that had more local control. And
they had better television shows in my experience as well. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer eventually ended up on one of these UHF channels, and a lot of good stuff like that.
So that's what the movie was about. It was about the big network affiliate in town that was evil, right?
Yeah.
Like run by corrupt people and doing bad things.
He reminded me of Mark.
And Weird Al's running this kind of scrappy, little independent station.
But it gets popular because their stuff is coming from the heart and it's fun and it's original.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the network guy gets jealous and wants to buy it.
Yeah, and then they have to raise the money to save the station, and all kinds of hijinks ensue. So if you feel like
that's a classic story, right?
Have you seen this movie?
No, but,
okay.
But I mean, it's a classic story. We created this thing and it's great and people love it, and then here comes this evil suit saying, "I'm going to buy this thing," and then they have to, have a dance at the barn or whatever to raise money to save
and the suit is so evil in this movie. He's so well cast. He's so bad and so bad. It's a fantastic movie. But this was 1989 when that movie came out, and that sort of juxtaposition existed then. Now there aren't as many independent. Like, does anybody broadcast on the UHF band anymore? Is that even a thing? I know there's still broadcasts antennas out there, right? Like these.
No, it's all digital now. So
there's digital, right? But are there actually still independent digital broadcasters? There may be some, but I bet you there are fewer than there ever have been.
Because iHeartMedia and all of these other major companies came and they bought them up. They conglomerated and condensed everything into a handful of companies owning all the media.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is in the radio business, which I've been in for my entire life, adult life, I've seen this happening, right? I came into this business in the 1990s, and that's when a lot of the gobbling up of local stations started. And the interesting thing happened was, well, the internet came along and created all this competition that had never existed before, and the stations couldn't keep up because they're old dinosaurs, these, and of course the bigger companies are the worst. They're the slowest to change. And so now they're sitting on all this debt where they spent all this money to buy these stations. They can't pay off their debt because the stations are going down in value. They're screwed, these big corporations. There's more coming up here. Hour number 3 is on the way. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Investigators have filed murder and hate crime charges against the suspect accused of shooting 5 people dead at a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Colorado. 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich allegedly fired an AR-15-style weapon in Club Q on Saturday night, killing 5 people and injuring more than 25 more. FSN's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher has more.
People inside Club Q in Colorado Springs described a scene of chaos as the gunman opened fire immediately after entering. The city's mayor said a patron had grabbed a handgun from the shooter before hitting him with it. Others then pinned him down until the police arrived. The mayor described the intervention as an incredible act of heroism. The suspect is in custody and receiving medical treatment. The investigation continues.
A Taiwanese chip-making firm has announced it's bringing its most advanced technology to the company's new facility in the U.S. state of Arizona. The news comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Beijing. Nick Harper reports.
Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company says that Arizona will be getting a high-tech boost. Its $12 billion facility, that's still under construction, will manufacture 3-nanometer chips, the most advanced technology that it produces. TSMC accounts for an estimated 90% of the global supply of super-advanced computer chips, and counts Apple and Qualcomm among its customers. The Biden administration has ramped up the chip war with China, pushing American investment and production, while at the same time imposing controls on Chinese companies by restricting the sale of advanced chips and the equipment to make them to those firms. And with tensions already bubbling over America's support of Taiwan, the island's position as the world's leading chip manufacturer has now further strained relations between Washington and Beijing.
U.S. stocks lost ground on Monday in what is set to be a shortened trading week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And it was COVID news out of China that dampened sentiment on Wall Street. William Denzelo reports from New York.
The news that China's reported its first COVID-19 related deaths since May spooked the US markets Monday. Fears are growing that an increase of cases in China will lead to more lockdowns and ramifications for supply chains and the global economy. The Dow Jones closed the day down 0.1%, the S&P 0.4%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq slipped 1.1%. The Federal Reserve was also in focus Monday. Speculation's been growing over whether the central bank will ease its aggressive interest rate hikes following signs that inflation may be cooling. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said Monday that rate hikes will continue until there's more evidence that price pressures are easing.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. What to make of the decision by North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un to introduce his young daughter to the public late last week. Having never previously been glimpsed, she was a very visible presence at her father's side during a recent trip to watch a missile being launched. North Korean analysts found the sudden presence of Kim's daughter more interesting than the rocket launch. Simon Sebag Montefiore is an historian who has charted the history of the Kim family.
He's confirming and promoting family rule. He's the third ruler from this family in direct succession. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, came to power in 1945. By introducing the fourth generation, he's saying, the family is offering continuity. And this daughter, who there's never been a female ruler, but his sister, Kim Yo-jong, is also very important now. So it may be that he's introducing the idea of a new thing, a female succession.
Very little is known about Kim's daughter, but the basketball star Dennis Rodman said back in 2013 that he had met her during one of several visits he made to Pyongyang, even holding her as a baby. South Korean intelligence says Kim has 2 other children with his wife, but all of their details are a closely guarded North Korean secret. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Investigators file murder and hate crimes charges against the suspect accused of shooting 5 people dead at a gay nightclub in Colorado. A Taiwanese chip-making firm announces it's bringing its most advanced technology to the company's new facility in Arizona. And U.S. stocks lose ground in what is set to be a shortened trading week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reporting.
For over 12 years, Halverson Enterprises CEO Peter Weathers has taken a hands-on approach in all aspects of the tech firm's growth and day-to-day business. But employees say the executive's true talent lies in his unique ability to recognize great ideas and then absolutely ruin them.
For as long as I've worked here, Peter has been able to sit down in a meeting, listen to a million different ideas, pick out the one that makes the most sense creatively and financially, and then totally destroy it until there's basically nothing worthwhile about it left. He's remarkable.
Employees throughout the company say they're most impressed by Weathers' ability to water down promising ideas with meaningless jargon, consistently choose the wrong person to head up every project, and inject virtually every halfway decent thought with his own short-sighted and terrible insights.
At our all-hands meeting the other week, our team put forth a very feasible plan to boost productivity. And it was really incredible to see Peter's mind at work, just taking every good aspect of our proposal and dismantling it like a small child.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the show. The phones are open, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Arya. Join us online anytime you want at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features that are waiting for you there. Once again, that's freetalklive.com. We started a story last hour ended up getting distracted by talking about the media and the sort of the same story being reported in multiple different places. If you want to comment on that, you're certainly still welcome to. But one discussion we were going to get into was about Qatar, where apparently the World Cup is happening. This is the world's largest soccer tournament, or the key game, essentially the Super Bowl of football. And
it is a tournament, evidently. So it's not just one game. It culminates.
It's a series of games?
Yes.
Okay. And so they're having all of these games in Qatar?
As far as I can tell.
Okay.
I'm not an expert in the World Cup or in football. As I began to say when we first brought this up, I have a lot of friends who do play soccer. One of them is a soccer coach. I mean, she's got a master's degree in some sports thing. And she's football was her sport. She plays it regularly with the people who own the Jamaican place down here. They're on her adult co-ed soccer team. It's a big deal, apparently, even here in New Hampshire. And it's surprising to me. But when I mentioned she showed me today that she was watching a video of the World Cup, and I was like, yeah, but screw Qatar. And she's like, why? What's going on there? I was like, you're watching the World Cup? I mean, you're plugged in to current events more so than the average person. And she
didn't know.
And you have no idea any of this is going on.
So what's going on?
Well, there's many things going on. There's also rumors, and I can't weigh in on these, that there's been an unusual number of worker deaths in regard to the World Cup in Qatar. I don't know anything about that. I've seen it. I have not independently verified it, but it seems suspicious based on what I've seen and within the realm of possibility.
Like people from Qatar?
I don't know.
Oh.
The European teams, however, competing at the 2022 Qatar World Cup, walked back their plans to wear One Love armbands in support of LGBTQ rights during the tournament. Now, this comes back to the whole source of this is that being gay or being LGBTQ is illegal in Qatar. I don't know what the punishment is for breaking that particular law, but it is illegal.
According to the Washington Post article about this, they say here that same-sex sexual activities are punishable in Qatar with a prison sentence and potentially, although it is never known to have been carried out, capital punishment.
Which is death.
Correct.
That's unfortunate. So that's where things are. And a lot of people a lot of these are European teams where, LGBTQ rights are widely recognized and not, you're penalized or discriminated against. So their plan was to wear One Love armbands, which is sort of a slogan for LGBTQ stuff. And there's only one love out there, and it doesn't matter whether it's between two men or two women or a man and a woman. All love is essentially the same.
Or three men or mixed bag or whatever, right?
Right. That's the meaning behind the One Love campaign, is that all love is the same.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. But of course the Qatar government doesn't like that because that's pro-LGBTQ. So they want people to instead wear one that says no discrimination.
Hold on. The government wanted that, or the World Cup?
I don't know to what extent. I don't know.
They preferred it over the One Love, which is a little weird to me because no discrimination is more like I know exactly what that means immediately. One Love is more like you got to think about it.
Not necessarily in Qatar, where being gay is criminal, right? We don't discriminate against criminals in the United States. I mean, you're not discriminating against thieves when you arrest them for stealing and throw them in prison, even though in the most realistic and linguistic senses, yes.
It's absolutely discrimination.
But she means people don't think of it like that.
Right. And just like, if you arrest someone for stealing, you're not discriminating against them for being a thief, just like in Qatar, the way they view it. If you arrest someone for being gay, you're not discriminating against them for being gay. You're punishing them for criminal activity. So they don't consider it to be discrimination, just like we don't consider it discrimination to arrest a thief. So they're fine with no discrimination. And I don't know whether Qatar approved this or not, but I know they resisted the One Love thing. And FIFA is the governing body that does this World Cup nonsense. I don't know. They're the organizing body for football throughout the world, for soccer throughout the world. And they wanted people to wear this One Love armband as opposed to the no discrimination one. But captains of the teams from the 7 European nations competing in the World Cup, England, Wales, Germany, Denmark, Belgium, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, and I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure homosexuality is legal in all 7 of those countries, which really makes me ask, why are these players participating in this nonsense? If you support LGBTQ rights and your employer is like, hey, you're all going to this place where being gay is actively penalized, why would you even do that? Your whole team should sit that one out. They can't fire you all. And it seems like it.
The same reason why most of the tennis players during COVID went ahead and they did what they were told, right? They got the COVID vaccine and they jumped through all the hoops, with the exception of that one guy, Djokovic or whatever, who refused to and, basically put his title up on the line and was willing to do it. But everybody else did what they were told.
I feel like this one's a little different. Like, maybe they really felt that they would have more of an impact if they went and wore these One Love armbands than if they just didn't go. Plus, there's it's the government that is against LGBT people, but this could potentially reach the actual people that live there. Maybe they just looked at it that way. I don't know.
And they know in this case that it's wrong. A lot of the tennis players who got the shot in order to compete, they felt like getting the shot was a good thing, or at least morally neutral. Here, these people from Western nations, presumably, they know that it's wrong to criminalize homosexuality. So that by going there and participating in this, they're promoting this wrong act that is discrimination.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can go that far, because you're not necessarily.
They're bringing tourism to Qatar.
Okay, but when you go and you play in the United States, does that mean you're promoting the war on drugs because the United States has a war on drugs? The fact that you're going to a place that is a tyranny in some various different ways doesn't mean you're necessarily endorsing that tyranny. And these people they just want to play their damn game. They probably don't want to get involved in, maybe some of them want to wear an armband, but they're not willing to go so far as to give up their career or give up what they might perceive as giving up their career just to simply make a political statement. Most people don't get, it's the same reason why business owners don't get into business to disobey the government. They get into business to make money. They don't want to piss off half of their customers by taking a political position in most cases. That's why we saw a lot of business owners obey all the COVID mandates, even though they personally may have been against them. They just wanted to go along to get along. And the same thing's probably true of these players.
Good point. I don't want to fault the players. You're absolutely right for agreeing to go there and do this. I would say it's more the fault of the FIFA for allowing it to take place, knowing that these 7 European teams were going to be coming from places where homosexuality is not illegal and where it's widely accepted and not criticized.
Where's your story
how many
from,
of the players might be LGBT? I would be really afraid to go there. I wouldn't have went to Russia if I was Brittany Griner, not.
Well, she shouldn't have brought weed.
She said she didn't mean to, but honestly, we were talking about this before. I just wouldn't have went during a war where the Russians and the Americans are beefing, but it was her job.
Already there.
So.
Wasn't she already there or no? I don't know.
She had to be traveling.
It's from CNBC.
CNBC. Here's a story from Washington Post. Has a little question and answer thing. Is it safe for LGBTQ fans outside of tournament zones in Qatar? Because they say that
I wouldn't go even within a tournament zone.
Well, the World Cup is insisting that all fans are welcome alongside other visitors this year.
Why would you go to a place where you know that your lifestyle is criminalized?
Yeah.
Because you really love soccer?
But
I don't
even
know.
if you're promised safety, why would you take that
risk? You
risk?
watch it on TV.
Qatar is insisting that everyone is welcome at this year's World Cup and that LGBTQ people are no exception. The country is opening its doors, quote unquote, without discrimination, according to the ruling Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani at a UN General Assembly this September. The organizers also publicly confirmed there are no restrictions on who's able to share accommodations while visiting for the World Cup. While contacted by the Post, the event's Qatari organizers suggested that all foreign travelers consider limiting public expressions of physical intimacy in line with local customs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because the people that live there, have lived under these rules for so long. You gotta expect that they're gonna be homophobic and stuff for the most part.
Yeah, there may be public, as they point out here, any public display of affection, regardless of what your sexual orientation is frowned upon, according to officials in
but
email
frowned upon
statement.
is very different from getting arrested.
Well, yeah, that's true. More coming up here in moments. You can join us on Free Talk Live. Share your thoughts.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're learning a little bit about Qatar, one of the smallest Middle Eastern countries. It is, according to Wikipedia, about half of the land size of our very own New Hampshire. So it's a pretty small place.
It is pretty small because you can pretty much travel from one side of New Hampshire to the other in about 4 hours, no matter which part of New Hampshire you're at.
That would be like from the northeastern corner to the southeast, southwestern corner. Yeah, and most, southern New Hampshire, you're going across in 2 hours from the westernmost point to the eastern, basically.
And that's the thickest from east to west.
Yeah, basically. So we're looking at Qatar. It is the host to the World Cup that's going on, I guess, right now. There's a bunch of headlines in the news about the alcohol restrictions that have come into place. Apparently, the Qataran government or whoever has banned the sale of alcohol in the area of the World Cup.
I'm surprised it's not just always banned. Like in
You can't
Saudi
get them at
Arabia.
the stadium?
That's what it sounds like. I don't know if it's available inside the stadium, but apparently the fans from Ecuador were chanting, "We want beer," in a story that came out just 1 hour ago. So this is apparently affecting the stadium. That's the way it sounds.
That's probably a bad idea. I don't know a lot about football, but I do know that football plus alcohol, from everything I've heard from my friends overseas, especially in the United Kingdom, you get hooliganism. You get people flipping over cars and setting things on fire.
It happens
and just,
in like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, whenever they have a crazy football game.
Also true.
Right. And
so I can
frequently
maybe see why they would ban the alcohol.
Sure. Frequently the winning team will do the destruction. Have you guys seen that happen where like the team
especially
wins?
in football, yeah. In soccer.
I've seen American sports do that
Yes.
too. So anyway, I did pull up an article here from the New Yorker written by someone who spent some time living in Qatar. It's a headline, "Drinking Beers in Qatar. As a Westerner who's lived under Qatari restrictions, I wasn't surprised by the public alcohol ban at the World Cup." So this was published yesterday, and she gets into detail on the sort of the culture and the life there.
Why would... Okay, put yourself in FIFA's shoes here. Here's this country that criminalizes all LGBTQ stuff. There's no alcohol anywhere in the country. There's no pot. What do they have? There's no strip clubs. There's none of this fun stuff. What does this country have to offer that would entice you to have the World Cup there?
Church, apparently.
over literally any other country where you can have these things.
I was interested to know more about that when they said that they won the bid in 2010. I was like,
Money.
what does that mean?
It means they paid for it.
Yeah, but other countries paid for it as well. And does that extra...
They outbid them.
But does that
that might not be
$15,000 or whatever it was that's different
It's probably
between the number
$15 million.
Yeah, but is that big enough deal to screw
Apparently
over
for FIFA
all-
it is.
That's exactly my point. They made a bad decision here, and they should have gone with the second highest bidder. Or they should have said, okay, look, we'll allow you to do this, but if you want to do it, because this is the World Cup, they're not hurting for... FIFA isn't hurting for money. They should have... If I had been the manager of FIFA, and there's probably plenty of reasons I'm not, I would have said, if you want to do this, you're going to have to allow our people to have alcohol, and you're going to have to stop killing gay people.
According to the story here at the Washington Post, this was the original piece just about the restrictions and the World Cup. They do say that sex between adult men is prohibited and punishable by up to 7 years in prison, according to a U.S. State Department report. However, the same does not apply explicitly to women.
I'm not at all surprised to hear that. I'm sure there's some... I don't know what to do with that.
Is it
What do you
not
say to that?
haram? He didn't ask that guy in the interview you're listening to that said homosexuality is haram. I think he only said being gay is haram, so maybe they don't think that about...
Well, this comes back to the...
I wouldn't want to test the waters if I were a lesbian lady and go and find out the hard way.
This sort of comes back to the Southern Baptist argument that, being gay isn't a sin because people are born that way and you have no control over it. However, participating in gay acts is the
acting
sin.
on your
Yes.
thoughts.
So maybe that's sort of where they're coming from here, where it's not criminalized to be gay. It's not illegal to be gay, but if you do anything gay, that's where it becomes illegal.
There was a refugee that someone we know knows, and I don't know the country, maybe I shouldn't say, but one of the women he knows that he's like working with said that when she got here, the first thing she wanted to do was try being lesbian to see if she liked it. Because
Nice.
she was like, I couldn't do it where I
Where
came
was she from?
I think it was Syria. You know who I'm talking about, but I just don't.
Did she like it?
I don't know.
I mean,
I didn't meet her.
I can't understand being like, I think I kind of want to try that to see if I like it or not. To me, sexuality just doesn't work that way. I mean,
Me either.
and that's
Like,
what I've always heard, that like you can't just be like, yeah, I think I'll try sleeping with the dude today.
That's how I feel because, like, so many of my friends are like bisexual. So many of them, they're like, there's no way that you're just straight. Everyone is a little gay. And the only times I've ever done anything with a girl has been when I was drinking. And it was just like, okay, let's stop this because it's not for me. Like, I just know it's not for me. It's not like it's like a little bit for me. Like, I've always known it wasn't.
I think when people say everyone's a little bit gay, I would hope they just mean like you're capable of finding other women attractive. Not necessarily that you would be willing to engage in homosexual acts with them.
It's more like I can see a painting and be like, that's a beautiful painting, but it's not the same thing as like, I want to do something with that painting.
I see.
We should have you take like a Kinsey test or whatever. That's what measures the scale from straight to gay.
But I've taken one of those, and it's basically just how gay do you want the test result to be? Because I mean, you can tell what it's asking, you can tell what it's getting at, and you know what the result is going to be. So it's not really a test. It's a please rate your gayness on a 1 to 7.
Let's go to Sarah. How gay are you, Sarah?
Oh yes. Yeah, pretty conversation there.
No, Sarah, how gay are you?
I just never had to really find out, you know.
Never had to.
I don't have to.
I had to.
But, I mean, the thing is that when women do it, we're considered like beautiful, and it's not disgusting when a man do it. It's considered kind of like sordid. You know what I mean? That's how,
I don't know if that's true in America.
Yeah, that's not been my experience with women at all. I assumed the same thing when I was growing up, and I was very surprised to learn from some of my girlfriends that they find the idea of two guys together just as hot as two men find the idea of two girls together.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really pursued it, but I wanted to talk about it.
Did you have a chance when you go to the commie meetings? Are there a lot of like easy lesbians there?
I don't know about all of that. I don't think they're about that, but you know.
Oh, they are. They're commies. I mean, yeah, probably half
they believe
of them
in
are
sharing,
gay.
right? Aren't they supposedly believe in sharing? Doesn't that include your own bodies?
That wasn't really about that.
I mean, if communism doesn't believe that, if you don't believe in owning things, then presumably you don't own yourself, right? So therefore, if somebody wanted to have sex with you, they should be able to under communism, don't you think?
I have no idea, but...
Well, you are a communist. I thought you were a communist. I thought you were a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. Sarah, hang on. I'll bring you back here because I really want to know. I want to know, is that one of the tenets of communism?
And in fairness, I think we will actually let you get to make your point, but you've got to answer our questions first because the world is dying to know, Sarah.
She wanted to talk about the bus.
Do you like the ladies?
There's more coming up here, and you can share your thoughts. The number is 603-283-6160. And if communism is about being against property, do you own yourself under communism?
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Investigators have filed murder and hate crime charges against the suspect accused of shooting 5 people dead at a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Colorado. 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich allegedly fired an AR-15 style weapon in Club Q on Saturday night, killing 5 people and injuring more than 25 more. FSN's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher has more.
People inside Club Q in Colorado Springs described a scene of chaos as the gunman opened fire immediately after entering. The city's mayor said a patron had grabbed a handgun from the shooter before hitting him with it. Others then pinned him down until the police arrived. The mayor described the intervention as an incredible act of heroism. The suspect is in custody and receiving medical treatment. The investigation continues.
A Taiwanese chip-making firm has announced it's bringing its most advanced technology to the company's new facility in the U.S. state of Arizona. The news comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Beijing. Nick Harper reports.
Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company says that Arizona will be getting a high-tech boost. Its $12 billion facility, that's still under construction, will manufacture 3-nanometer chips, the most advanced technology that it produces. TSMC accounts for an estimated 90% of the global supply of super-advanced computer chips, and counts Apple and Qualcomm among its customers. The Biden administration has ramped up the chip war with China, pushing American investment and production, while at the same time imposing controls on Chinese companies by restricting the sale of advanced chips and the equipment to make them to those firms. And with tensions already bubbling over America's support of Taiwan, the island's position as the world's leading chip manufacturer has now further strained relations between Washington and Beijing.
U.S. stocks lost ground on Monday in what is set to be a shortened trading week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And it was COVID news out of China that dampened sentiment on Wall Street. William Denzelo reports from New York.
The news that China's reported its first COVID-19 related deaths since May spooked the US markets Monday. Fears are growing that an increase of cases in China will lead to more lockdowns and ramifications for supply chains and the global economy. The Dow Jones closed the day down 0.1%, the S&P 0.4%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq slipped 1.1%. The Federal Reserve was also in focus Monday. Speculation's been growing over whether the central bank will ease its aggressive interest rate hikes following signs that inflation may be cooling. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said Monday that rate hikes will continue until there's more evidence that price pressures are easing.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. Free Talk Live brought to you by various different sponsors, including the folks that are trying to get in touch with people that worked or lived at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988. And if you've suffered from cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, you might be entitled to compensation. There were contaminants in the drinking water during those years that might have led to those diseases. So you've got deadlines likely involved here. I'm going to give you a phone number. You can call it and see if you or a loved one are eligible. The number is 888-918-1037. That's 888-918-1037. If you are at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and you've had a serious health issue, money is already set aside. Call that number, 888-918-1037. Sarah is still on the line with us here in New Mexico. Now, I know you were calling about some other reason tonight, Sarah, because you don't actually listen to the show. But, you know, every now and then we do like to involve you in our conversation with some topic at hand. And since we've been talking about being gay in the country of Qatar and how it may actually be a crime there at various different levels, I find myself wondering that you as a communist, I mean, you've said that you are a card-carrying Communist Party member. You go to the meetings. Surely.
I
no?
stopped going.
Why? Why'd you stop?
When I was in Boston, there was like 7 Communist Party meetings like every week that I could go to. But over here, it's kind of remote. I have a meeting once a month. So I stopped going, and I'm not a card-carrying member. And, you know, that's your preference of...
So does that mean you no longer actually believe in communism?
Yeah, but it's got nothing to do with your personal choice. Communism is about economic policy.
Well, I thought communists were against property, though.
I mean, but you know what? You make your decision with you between your morality with your Lord. You know what I mean? Your God.
No. But I want to know about property, Sarah. Isn't communism against the idea of property?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know how it's every culture it will adapt to your culture. I mean, you look at it. There's gay churches because they...
Sarah,
she can't answer the question.
No, I don't think she even understands the question.
Yeah, I think she just doesn't have the capability to answer this question.
You don't think she knows what property means?
I don't think she knows if self-ownership of your body is always like a thing that they have or don't have in communism, or if it depends on the country you're in or whatever. I don't think she knows, and I don't really know.
Sarah, you understand that Ian has changed the subject, right? He's not asking you anything about being gay right now. He's asking you about property.
Well, property, okay, your body.
No.
Well, she's addressing the body. Go ahead.
Like bread or cows that you share amongst the people. We're talking about economics. You have your right to your body and your conscience.
Okay, wait. Now slow down 1 second here. I like that. I like what you said there. I'm with you. You have a right to your body. You have a right to your conscience. So,
and you have to answer to your God.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you 100% on that, Sarah. I got another question now. So we agree. This is rare, but we are in agreement that you have a right to your body. You get to do what you want with it. Now, if I use my body to make something, to create something that did not exist before I used my body to make that thing, do I have a right to the thing that I made?
What thing? Are you talking about a child or what?
No, I'm not talking about a child. I'm talking about like a physical object. You know, I've created
a statue.
I've carved something, a statue. Yeah, I've taken a piece of wood and a knife, and I've carved a statue.
What does that have to do with morality?
I'm not asking about morality yet. I'm just asking you. You said I own myself. You said that I have the right to myself. And so I'm asking you, if I myself use my own body to create a thing, I put my energy, my work, and my time into making this statue from a piece of wood. Is that my statue? Do I have a right to it?
Well, I guess that's your statue unless you want to sell it.
You're
Make
not a
money
communist.
off it? Yeah, she's said things like this before. She's not a communist.
You're not really a communist. You are actually a person who believes in the market. You believe in the right to property and the right to create things and sell things. Sarah, you and I, it turns out we agree on more stuff. All right, so what were you calling about tonight?
Well, I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
Just more importantly than what did that have to do with morality, I always want to know what being gay and having sex has to do with morality. Like, to me, it seems like there's a jump that Christians take.
Well, didn't they say something in the Bible about Christ doesn't like Jesus or like gays or something?
That God doesn't, but it's just like, when did I know when it became okay?
Thou shalt not spill thy seed on another man or something to that effect.
I don't know, that sounds weird. But it's just like,
well, there were many things in the Bible. The consensus, I think, among scholarly Christians is that they were referring to they were referring to pedophilia.
Oh, okay.
That's one hypothesis that I've heard, but English translations are pretty clear in what they're saying, and it explicitly says that thou shalt not lie with a man as one does with a woman.
But just forgetting about the Bible, what does being gay have to do with morality? How is it moral or immoral? Just please think without referring to the book for once. Like, I just don't understand. Unless it's rape, I don't understand what sex has to do with morality.
Is this a question for Sarah, or are you just asking the audience?
I don't think Sarah can answer that question, so I'm just asking.
I certainly can't, but I would speculate it has something to do with procreation. As Rich pointed out once at a nightcap a long time ago, if you're a warmongering people and you're constantly making your neighbors angry and you're constantly at war with them, one of the most important things you need to do is procreate and
so
produce
you can sacrifice
more
children
soldiers
for the state.
Well, yeah, so you can have more soldiers. And he speculated that was the reason that homosexuality became outlawed or haram or forbidden or whatever terminology one wishes to use, because it doesn't procreate. And that's the same reason that masturbation became criminalized and outlawed, because it's not used to procreate. So anything that got in the way of procreation was deemed to be bad. And that sort of carries on into modern times, where Christians view contraceptives and condoms and birth control and all manner of other things as being somehow immoral.
Problem.
Yes.
So, Sarah, you were calling about the bus. What's going on?
Yes, so the city councilors want to actually get after these, prohibit these criminals and people that beat and assault bus drivers from riding the bus.
Okay.
How many city councilors are there? How are they going to tackle all of them?
No, I'm kind of thinking, why did it take them so long?
What are they going to do, though? How are they going to have a background check for you whenever you get on the bus?
That's kind of like, well, I'm perplexed because they have these people on camera. Like, there was a guy that shot at the bus. He shot up the bus. He didn't hit anybody, but he was so angry he was shooting the bus. But they have cameras of this guy. So this guy will be like prohibited from riding the bus.
But how?
Right? He was shooting. Why isn't he in jail?
They have this buckshot. I mean, they would have real time cameras.
Right, I get what you're saying, but look, I mean, you're in a city of 500,000 people, right? Like Albuquerque's a big place. You can put
but that's what. I'm kind of perplexed. How are they going to do this?
I don't know.
That was my question.
It's probably just tough talk, Sarah. It's probably just them trying to get people on their side. Or
I mean, facial recognition systems, maybe, but I don't think Albuquerque's got the money for that.
Well, I mean, they can. It's probably cheaper than it's ever been, but then you're going to get false positives, and there's going to be all kinds of
Weren't their cameras
problems.
like $60,000 each?
I don't know.
But there was a Sarah.
The thing is that they should have done this like 30, 50 years ago. Why are they considering after so many
it's hard to implement. I mean, you can. It's like when somebody tries to, give a business a bad check, and they put the check up on the wall and say, "Oh, well, no more checks from this guy." Well, okay. If somebody tries to write you a check from that same account, you might recognize the name. Same thing. If you put up the guy's picture, maybe the bus drivers are going to recognize him when he gets on, but if he hasn't changed his hairstyle or
But then are the
some
bus
facial
drivers
hair,
meant to put themselves in danger every time?
Then the bus driver's got to
tackle
kick the crazy guy off. That's probably less dangerous to just let him ride for a block or two. Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. I appreciate it. It's actually a good question. How would they implement that? And of course, Uber doesn't have this problem for the most part because you have to have a credit card to be able to ride on Uber. There's more coming up here in moments. The number is 603-283-6160. You can join the show, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind. We got more on Qatar and the various different conservative restrictions in that country coming up. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open should you wish to join us. You can. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us online anytime you want. Head over to freetalklive.com. Archives and more are all available for you there. So let's get back into this Qatar controversy where FIFA, the World Cup, the big international soccer championship thing, they're having their tournament in Qatar, relatively small countries, half the size, land size of New Hampshire, twice as many people, so definitely a little more density there. But apparently they're, pretty wealthy on that oil money. And that's the story here from the New Yorker about the alcohol there. We thought that they would be restricting alcohol, but there's actually, there are restrictions on the World Cup specifically. But as far as being able to drink in Qatar, as long as you're not a Muslim and you're willing to do it privately, you can legally drink, apparently, in Qatar, according to the story.
So they can't have them at the World Cup, but if they have alcohol and they drink it in their homes or in their hotel or Airbnb or whatever, that's allowed?
So according to the story of the New Yorker, which I've skipped down to this part here, it was published just yesterday, and just so you know what the headline is, I'll publish it for you, or I'll post it on our social media at social.freetalklive.com on the @FTL account. Claire Malone writing, it's called Drinking Beers in Qatar. And after a little while, she explains, she says, drinking became a fixation for many because it was fun and social, sure, but there was also a nose-thumbing aspect to it. Again, she lived in Qatar for some time. You lived your whole work week wearing conservative clothes in 120-plus degree heat, going to censored movies at the theater, and growing tired of the endless mall walks. A Hendrix and a cucumber was a taste of home and a private statement of defiance. Drinking in Doha, which I guess is a city there, must be done in sanctioned hotels and clubs or at your residence after you've obtained a liquor license through your employer.
Even at your house?
Yes, stating that you are not a Muslim.
Then it is not act of defiance, it feels like. Like, I remember in high school, it was like so much more fun to smoke weed in Texas in 2010.
Because it was more illegal there?
Because it was so illegal. And now it's less, just like, I feel like it's less, there's that one aspect of missing, at least.
Yeah, you make a great point here, Bonnie, and that is for the average person, doing something that is mostly prohibited, even in a legal way, feels defiant to them, right? Like, this person isn't defying anything except perhaps social norms.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, because being genuinely defiant is so addictive. I mean, it feels good to say no and to stand up for yourself. even if you just half-heartedly want to say no, just actually doing it, it's such a power move.
Alcohol, she says, so central to many cultures and such anathema to the Qatari one is a natural trigger point in what is somewhat reluctantly multicultural society. It's why the World Cup controversy could have been foreseen. Beer at stadiums would have crossed an important line of private versus public consumption of alcohol. And in Qatar, the boundaries between those realms is sacrosanct. Rules like no eating or drinking in public during Ramadan and our other pointed assertions of values that grate on some expatriates. House parties ramp up during the holiest month of the Islamic calendar. Quote, Ramadan is dry, but not at the Marine House, an old invite that I recently pulled up blared. It's an impulse
That's disgusting. So even if you're not a Muslim, you effectively have to publicly live according to Muslim custom. Why?
That's right.
And why would anyone stay there if you weren't a Muslim in those situations?
She must have been making money.
Make money elsewhere. I mean,
you know how people
to a certain
are.
extent, it's not worth it.
They'll give up their principles for money. People do it all the time. They live in places they don't want to live. They work for people they don't want to work for, and they excuse it because, hey, I got to put the kids through school. Right? We see it with police. We see it with people working.
So that they can do the very same things, and they can work for people that they don't support and they don't agree with. So they can put their own kids through school, and at some point, someone's got to draw the line and stand up for themselves.
Agreed. This is the difference between people who value principle and people who value money.
Yeah.
Right? She says it's an impulse that is admittedly more than a little puerile. The small population of Qataris hold itself apart from the rest of the country. An invitation to a Qatari home for a Westerner is a rarity. I never saw the inside of one, but I went to the women's portion of a large wedding once and was tickled that when the abayas came off...
The women's portion of a wedding?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a Muslim country, so you sort of got to expect that kind of thing, but
even
Jesus.
Like Mormons have that in their churches. Like there's women's groups, men's groups. You got to, unless you get married, you're not in the same group, and it's just like I could not stand growing up like that. Like
I mean, Christian churches have that too. At least the ones I went to, they had like women's Sunday school and men's Sunday school and all that. But
they'll still mix together on the
it wasn't like
Sunday.
Segregated. It
well,
was,
it won't be like you can't be together unless you're married.
Yeah.
Like at least the ones I've been to. Maybe there are some.
Interestingly, she says that when the abayas came off, and I had to look up what an abaya is. I thought it might have been a headdress, but it's actually like some other piece that a woman wore. It's a very conservative sort of, not
like a shawl,
probably like a shawl or a dress, sort of a whole body covering thing. So she says, when the abayas came off, I was one of the more conservatively dressed attendees. She said the cleavage and side boob on display were worthy of a Kardashian photo call. My phone was confiscated at the door, not that I would have dared pull it out. I thought of that when I watched a Danish news crew arguing with Qatari authorities last week. Quote, you invited the whole world to come here. Why can't we film? It's a public place, the reporters said. A fair point. But in Qatar, behavior in public spaces is highly regulated. When I lived there, men and women couldn't hold hands in public.
It's the same thing like filming in public is illegal in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, really?
And like even like married people don't go around holding hands and stuff like that.
Yep.
So.
Well, they should. I mean, it's a good thing to show affection toward one another. And
if you want to get your hand cut off.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't cut people's hands off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we should have more love, more friendship, more affection in the world. We shouldn't discourage and criminalize and demonize these things.
But, these are places where making that societal change is very difficult. It's much easier to just go somewhere more pleasant, right? Like leave. Get out of these places.
Which would work if you didn't have organizations like FIFA saying, hey, we're going to go to this backward, hateful places that causes people to repress their feelings for one another. And
well, FIFA's not the problem. FIFA's just going to be there for a short period of time. It's one of many problems. It's just a temporary issue. The problem is that somebody who is born in Qatar, this woman's from, the U.S. or U.K. or something, she can go home, right? If you're born in Qatar and you're born gay, that's the problem, because then how do you get to the United States? You can't. Immigration restrictions. That's the problem here, is people who are stuck in hellholes like Qatar, or worse places like Qatar is kind of progressive.
You're not being very clear. Like you mean that the government is the problem, right? Because it keeps sounding like you're saying the gay person is the problem.
No, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. Yeah, the government's the problem. Immigration restrictions are preventing people who are born in places where they do not fit in. They do not belong, and they're never going to change the society around them. They're going to lose their genitals, or they're going to lose their hand, or they're going to lose their life if they try to push the boundaries of going out and doing public displays of affection in these places. Whereas all they would have to do in a freer world of being able to at least just travel and move to a different place is simply pick the place that is the most friendly to them and be able to go there. But no, you can't do that. You can't just go to San Francisco or to New York or to New Hampshire or wherever, country we're talking about, the Netherlands. You can't just pick up and leave. It's just all these stupid rules stand in the way. Yeah, and that would change everything.
All the more reason that, all of these immigration laws should just be stricken from the books, and we should have free travel because of the gay people born in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, or the lesbians born in Qatar and Saudi Arabia that have to repress themselves and live lies or be put to death simply because of who they are. To say nothing of the ones who just want to be able to have a drink every once in a while, or who want to smoke some pot or do some blow or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and there's other countries, I think you mentioned Saudi Arabia, where people get arrested for having a little speck of cannabis and thrown into prison, possibly put to death.
They're doing a whole campaign trying to make it more, they're trying to make their tourism like a big thing now because, if they can't rely on just oil, because that's like all they have. They don't have any rivers or anything. Can you believe that?
They also have Mecca. Saudi Arabia has a huge tourism market because part of the whole thing with Islam is that you have to go to Mecca, I think, at least once in your life.
Correct. The Hajj.
Yes, and they have the place. And I think they put a McDonald's there.
They have lots of, I was so shocked to see some, I've been, watching YouTube videos about Saudi Arabia because I really wanted to go there until my friend who actually went there came back home and told me lots of stuff about it. Sounds way worse than I thought. But if you watch videos online, it's like, doesn't look that bad. It looks really pretty and really cool. It's really sad to me that places are off limits for some humans to go to because Mecca is so beautiful, and I was telling my friend, I was like, oh, I want to go there because he was showing me pictures, and then I saw online you literally can't go there if you're not a Muslim. And it's the most beautiful city on earth. It's not fair.
Well, I don't know if it's the most beautiful city on earth. It's probably really hot and uncomfortable. But
it's pretty.
Bland.
The stuff that they build is so much prettier than in
the architecture.
In America.
You like the architecture.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth,